Welcome to Mr. Podcast with Claude.
And Justin.
We are back with the series finale of The Leftovers, episode 308, The Book of Nora.
We finally find that second book.
The second book is the last chapter.
It's the last, yeah, that's a little strange, but sure, why not?
And what a book it is. Some might ask,
quite a book.
Is it any truer than the Book of Kevin?
Ooh.
Is this the New Testament?
Oh. Isn't the New Testament truer than the old one? Isn't that the story?
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, good point. I guess that's how it is with this.
Yeah, there it is. Look at that. It's all the same.
It's all
why
the
even
same.
Why even watch a TV show if you just you're already experiencing life? Why even watch this show? It's exactly the same.
It's a good point.
Except in real life, you can't go through a machine and go to a parallel universe. Oh wait, can you even do that on this show?
Oh, God, you're really hitting you're going for the hard hitting questions, the hard hitting accusations immediately. Like you're holding nothing back.
J'accuse. Which I assume is French for "I accuse you."
That's exactly it.
Okay, good.
It's definitely a whatever you call it, cognate. Same word basically, and the jeux, of course, I.
Mm-hmm.
As everyone knows,
everyone
je ne sais quoi.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the end of one of our favorite shows of the last few years. Sad to see it go, but
Indeed.
yeah, I guess I'm a little mixed on this ending of the story. There's overall I like the episode, but in terms of where some of the characters end up, I wasn't that satisfied. They played the games I thought they were gonna play with, did she or didn't she kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I think, probably the biggest thing is just the whole Kevin and Nora love story. We knew that going into this season, that was the big thing.
Right.
And that's kind of where where literally the end of the story is. But I don't know. It's interesting, we'll talk about it. Did Kevin and Nora solve their problems?
I mean, they just spent 20 years apart.
Was that all they needed? Some time apart, and then
I think they needed a nice long break.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like Kevin's whole thing of like, I'm just gonna pretend like that whole time didn't happen, and which is like crazy. Like you don't seem well adjusted, Kevin, if you're just gonna like walk up to her 20 years later and pretend like you don't know who she is. Not that you don't know who she is, but you guys didn't have that relationship
Barely
you had.
Know her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what? And then she's like, okay, that's fine. Like, yeah, wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was basically doing something very similar to the Jack thing from Lost, just like randomly going to places in Australia and asking if people had seen Nora, very similar kind of like long, aimless quest. Well, not aimless, but sort of, he had no leads,
Yeah.
It was just like getting on a random plane going over the Pacific and hoping it crashes on the island somehow. It seems like a very similar arc to me, that, happens off screen. So yeah, it's sort of like, I guess like, that he didn't give up on her or something. Like that was some kind of, I don't know, that was supposed to be some kind of sign, but it's clear he didn't move on from her. So if that was unhealthy, then certainly that happened. But yeah, I don't think they worked out their problems at all. I mean, they left on that. I can't believe like, well, you should go be with them then, is the last thing he said to her for 20 years.
Wow.
That really, that really surprised me. I did not think that was going to happen. The whole time at the beginning when they're, gearing up with the whole machine thing, I'm like, all right, Kevin's going to show up here anytime now.
Yep.
Here it comes. Where's Kevin? Knock on the door, Kevin. Where are you? It was just like that just didn't happen. I guess he never found out where she was.
Yeah, and I guess at this point, you know, yeah, I don't know. That whole thing was very strange, and I also thought, after the last episode, Kevin was kind of done with his adventures, and he could go, well, hey, where's Nora? Let me go find her real quick, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like you're saying, he
Exactly.
might show up, but I guess he didn't know where to go or whatever, or
Yeah.
whenever he talked to Matt next, he didn't. Matt said she departed or something, or
Yeah.
yeah, or whatever she told Matt to tell people. Yeah, what a weird. This is not the way I thought the story was gonna end.
So basically, like Kevin Senior sitting on the roof and turning to Junior and saying, "Now what?" That's the end of the present day story.
Yep,
I
yep.
mean, that was it for that part of the crew. Like
It's like, now what? I don't know. Let's cut to 20 years in the future.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I was reading an interview with David Lindelof, and like he made it clear that like I guess like Kevin's arc was completed by the second visit to the hotel world, and so like the last episode is really about Nora's thing, and I mean eventually he comes back, but like his present day story was just over at that point, and I really didn't think that was true at all. Uh,
I don't know why it's over. Why would it be over
it
then?
was just over.
I
It
thought
was
the
just
whole point of
over.
Kevin's thing when he was going to the hotel for other people to solve other people's problems, I thought that was significant about his own character flaw, and that like he needed to find a reason to be there for himself and all that stuff, and it didn't seem like he ever got that. When he comes back and he gives people half-ass answers about what happened, like,
Yeah.
that's it. Like, you're just done at that point. Like, what did you figure out, Kevin? Like, Christopher Sunday was like, why did you even come here if you don't believe any of that stuff? It seems like Kevin was supposed to go figure out what he believed. And I don't really know. We know Matt figured out what he believed. To a degree, he believed some, that stuff wasn't true. But I'm like, what did did Kevin just stop thinking he was special forever? Like, did he ignore that part of his history? I mean, I guess the idea is he went back to Mapleton,
Yeah, sounds like it.
which
No,
is
no, no. He said he was still living in Jordan.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 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 yeah. He was still but he told her originally that he had been in Mapleton that whole time, but that was a lie.
Right. There you go. There you
But he's
go.
still in Jordan, and like Erica comes there
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
thought was weird. Like, why are you bringing her into this? Like, I thought she was fine and happy in her life, but all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. 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 Well, I was reading from that same interview. I found out that there were various ideas of like who Nora was going to be talking to, the whole
Mm-hmm.
time, or maybe only some of the time, depending on how true her story was. Um, anyway,
What do you
there
mean
was
talking to?
what?
What do you mean?
Yeah, like talking to, like telling what what's going on with her, communicating, having conversations. I don't know.
When? What?
She's talking to Lori. She's talking to
Uh
Lori the
huh.
whole time,
Uh huh.
right? But there were when they were originally like coming up with that storyline, there were some other plans. Apparently, the original idea was like Kevin wasn't even going to be in this episode, and it was going to be a grown-up Lily coming to visit her, and
Hmm.
that's when she was going to tell the story. That's
Oh, see, the
that was
story
their
about her going to find her children and coming back.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also it was going to be she was calling Erica, not calling Lori,
Oh, I see.
that whole time. Like they thought about it, doing it that way. So anyway, I was just thinking the mention of Erica makes me think that's, you know, maybe some kind of remnant of that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like establishing that she was still like part of that circle, and because I mean that's part of the story that's a little crazy, that like Lori ends up knowing, like I don't know about the whole time, but a lot of the time,
Mm-hmm.
um, and never says anything.
Yeah.
However, uh, the interview also clarified this point that I don't know if this was clear to you. So, was it clear to you or not that what did you think in terms of Lori not saying anything to Kevin? Do you think she knew that Kevin was going to Australia looking for Nora like year after year?
I would. I didn't really think about that. But my hunch would be no.
Yeah, so the answer was no, and I guess they had dialogue about it originally,
Okay.
where they like made that clear. But Justin Theroux, for whatever reason, really didn't want to say those lines, so they didn't make it into the show.
He didn't
Um,
want it to be clear that Lori knew he was doing this, and that she would know that he could be successful or something, or
that
mm,
he didn't want it to be clear that she didn't know. If that makes sense, but that's not even true. Uh, he thought it was obvious from the scene for whatever reason that surely she didn't realize that he was doing this, you know, which turns out to be true.
because like is the idea that if she knew, she would have told him that Nora was
I
there.
guess like it becomes a little bit like the idea is that like she actually thought he had moved on from Nora.
Uh
And
huh.
just like keeping a secret that Nora's alive, if he's like looking for her,
I
year
see.
after year,
Mm-hmm.
it starts to seem a bit cruel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's part of why they put those lines in, just to establish she didn't know that he was doing that.
Okay, so there's
Um,
lines in the actual episode that
There
says that.
were originally in the
Okay,
script.
I see,
They're
but there's
not
not.
they're not actually in the episode because Justin Theroux didn't want to say those lines.
I see.
Because he thought it was obvious. Which I
Clearly, it's
disagree, but that's why I
not.
wanted to ask you, because
Yeah.
that's not what I thought at all.
No, clearly it's not
I
obvious.
actually thought she knew and just decided that it was important enough to keep a secret anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was kind of a crazy detail, like, man, he's gonna be pissed,
Yeah.
which is true anyway.
Yep.
But but still, it is better that he was
It's
lying.
it's actually not the worst scenario, right? Because I feel like the worst scenario is the opposite. That like she was there in Australia and Kevin could have found her, but he didn't. And like Lori knew and could have told Kevin that she's there and didn't. And so for all this time, like he wanted to find her but never looked because he always thought she was gone. Yeah, I feel like
Right.
that's probably the worst version than what actually happened, which is that she was in Australia and he was looking for her, but Laurie didn't know that he was going to look. That's not that bad. That's not the worst version.
No, but I think it would be worse if she did know
Yeah.
that he was going to look for her and never said anything.
That's worse than this version, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wouldn't put it past Lori to still not tell him, like she's been cruel before,
Oh yeah,
in the
that's
name
true.
of psychological therapy.
Right.
Um, okay, yeah, yeah. So you want to get into the episode here? I mean, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. So the weird thing about this episode is that, like, I mean, not that much really happens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be weird going through it. It's actually an extra long episode, but not that much happens per se. It's really um mostly what it feels like to me is kind of an epilogue, like a series epilogue.
Mm-hmm.
Like we get the final moments of Nora's story. That's really the only new stuff that we get.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is, this flash forward stuff. And like a big part of that story involves, both of them kind of um, pretending
Yeah.
to each other. And so it's like, it's not until pretty late in the episode that they speak honestly about, the history and all the stuff from the show.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of it is this game, this dance, if you will, like to reach the point where they'll just like explain what's going on.
Yeah, because the gambit here is that she went to the other place, so maybe that's where she is this whole time.
Right, that's what
Uh,
they want to fool us
did
with.
she or didn't she go through with the whole machine transport thing? And
It's such a flash sideways kind of thing.
yeah, it's exact. And even like what you were saying before about it being similar, Kevin's looking, going to Australia, flights to Australia, looking for
Hmm.
Nora. It's similar to Jack, like trying to get back to the island. Um,
Yeah.
and the other thing that's similar is, the Flash sideways in season 6. That idea of like Jack having a son and having this like alternate history, and that's kind of
Right.
how Kevin presents himself when he first
Totally.
shows
It's
up.
like such a mini flash sideways
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. It's like, oh, here's an alternate world, and then we have to wait to find out if it's real or
But
not.
then they quote unquote remember at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. It's the same thing.
It's such a
Um,
pattern.
and the whole idea even of setting up this future timeline in the beginning of the season,
Yep. Totally.
same kind of thing here, and it
Yep.
begs the question of why even do that. Why tell us that far in the beginning of the season that this
Yeah.
this is this 20-year later period is gonna happen.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I agree. I think it sets up intrigue, you know. It
Mm-hmm.
seems, and this is what I guessed going in, which you don't have to be like a genius to guess this, but that, it wouldn't be what it appeared to be at the time.
For sure.
What they were kind of insinuating, just like the bomb thing, the bomb in the Flash Sideways, where it's like you get introduced to this Book of Kevin thing, and then you have a flash forward where someone's like, "Hey, have you ever heard of some guy named Kevin?" It's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh shit," like it's like your mind goes wild with like possibilities of like what that means to connect to the book thing, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever crazy future awaits them, that they're kind of setting up for. But at the same, but then like when we actually get there, it's like, oh.
It's just someone came by looking for her named
Oh my
Kevin.
God, it was the simplest explanation ever. There
Yeah.
was a guy named Kevin who
Mm-hmm.
came looking for you. That's why I'm asking you if you know a guy named
Yeah,
Kevin.
it's the most simple thing you could ever guess.
It's so
Yeah,
simple.
and I think that's what's weird is when they set up all these the context of the Kevin's book and Kevin being supernatural, and then the whole later the idea of the machine
Yeah.
and all that stuff, and we see Nora 20 years later, and there was half the fans out there thought the makeup was Nora having radiation exposure,
Right,
which I
right.
never believed.
No, that was
Um,
bullshit.
but so you don't really know how to get to the truth with that convoluted context, and it's just that that was just a flash forward. They just cut to 20 years later. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And I kind of think, at least with that one, I kind of think that I might have liked it better if they didn't give us the flash forward and we just
Mm-hmm.
got to there linearly and
Yep.
suddenly they cut to 20 years later. I feel like that might have been more interesting,
Yep. Instead
because
of
I
waiting for it the whole time.
and then like when they reveal why she said, have you heard of someone named Kevin? Like it was a letdown.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like because it's so built up. Whereas like if we just got to that point in the story, then it wouldn't have been a letdown. It would have been like, well, what's going on? What does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
Why is
Mm-hmm.
she here? Where are we? You know what I mean? Like I feel like I would have enjoyed that more without that flash forward, and
Yeah.
I might even say that for the gray stuff. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's less of a problem. Just because it's like less consequential. But like I think I might have preferred in that story if they just Kevin Senior comes outside and finds them murdering this guy, and like that's how we find out. You know. Like it just appears sort of in the present instead of doubling back you know and then explaining what that scene
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It puts a lot of
Like sometimes
emphasis.
flash forwards work, but
Mm-hmm.
in this case it just seems like artificial intrigue to me.
Yeah, yeah, and it didn't. If she had actually gone through the machine and proper, like we actually would have seen scenes from that world, and that's where she
Yeah.
was in that flash forward. It was actually a flash sideways to another
Right.
dimension or something, but it was still 20 years later.
Yeah.
I think I would have liked it more. Having that flash forward at the beginning of the season, but yeah, the fact that it's just a flash forward, it doesn't do anything but keep us intrigued. We're already intrigued. I mean, we're not.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stop watching if I don't get that scene at the end of the first episode.
Yeah.
Or was it the second episode?
That one was the first
The
episode. I
first
think the
one, the
Grace
second
thing was the
one.
second episode.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So I have very mixed feelings about some of the structure stuff, and I mean, we find out that Lori didn't kill herself,
Right. Right.
which was what my theory was.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
It didn't make sense. It just didn't feel right. I mean, I don't think we see a lot of TV characters committing suicide unless unless there's a story about suicide. You know what I mean? But as the idea that a character would rationally come to the conclusion that the best sort of healthy thing for them to do is to commit suicide. It's just I don't think I've seen that really. So it didn't make sense that they would leave Lori like that. And right after a phone call from her kids, I mean that would upset a lot of fans. I think she's already not the most popular character, and for her to make this decision right after talking to her kids who seem happy and well adjusted, and it's their mom's just gonna leave them now. It's just
Yeah.
God, that's harsh.
Right. Right. She's not a popular character.
Well, because she's a buzzkill,
Sure.
she's the one who that's my impression. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Okay.
just
Okay.
in terms of the other characters who are doing crazy interesting stuff, she's usually the one that's okay, slow down here, let's not do that.
Right. Right. Yeah, I definitely felt that in season 2, but I have to say,
do you have to?
I do.
Okay.
I was really surprised just looking back at that last episode. I was really surprised thinking back that I actually enjoyed Lori's episode more than I did, the last one, that Kevin's last trip into the crazy hotel world. And if you told me that would happen, I would not believe you. But strangely, I found that Lori episode more compelling.
Certified?
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost agree. I mean, I don't know if I agree 100%, but I would agree that the episode 7, Most Powerful Man in the World, wasn't that, in hindsight, not that interesting to me.
Yeah, it felt like a letdown, and I was trying to figure out what exactly it was. And I think when we recorded the podcast, I hadn't really fully processed it yet. So I have a few thoughts about what I think went wrong there. I know that's not exactly the topic at hand, but we're it was the end of the show.
Yeah, we can talk about the whole show in general.
So in terms of the first hotel, International Assassin. One of the things that made that world really intriguing, and the second time we just go back briefly for the karaoke scene, which I also think was good. Certain cut-ins aside, there's this whole idea of don't drink the water,
There's blood in the water,
and yeah, exactly. And Virgil drinks the water, and it causes him to be brainwashed or something. You know what I mean? He forgets that he's in this world and just kind of buys into the artificial nature or whatever. And that's something he has to avoid, and then there's Neil, who's drinking the alcohol, which I guess doesn't count, and so he does remember. There's the whole thing with the bird, connecting that to the whole bird thing with Erica. And then there's the communicating with his dad on the TV thing. The level of I guess outside intrigue that doesn't seem like it's just about Kevin's problems.
Yeah,
was pretty high in that episode. And that just didn't feel that way in the new one. The new one felt so designed to be all about him.
It's funny because he goes in there for other people. this last
Yeah.
time. Yet it is totally about him because, well, because he's going to destroy the world, so they kind of have to get him to that place. But yeah, I
Right.
agree. The International Assassin Hotel stuff was just had a lot of different elements to it that made it really interesting. And I think yeah, this time when he goes in the most powerful man in the world, it seemed the world seemed more artificial in a way. It seemed more. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
because he's president, and
Right.
he's the assassin, and he's playing
Yeah.
both roles. I mean, that was all super interesting, but also it seemed very, manufactured for his own psychological healing or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Oh, and Patty like having someone else look like her,
hmm
so that like Kevin will kill her instead, and she's just like, I'm just whoever, like they
hmm
told me, it's like what? Like it's like there's innocent people involved in this thing. Like it really creates like this sense of a world that isn't just for Kevin. Like
hmm
it seems to exist for the other characters that are there too, and here with this new episode, like it really didn't seem that way anymore. Kind of, even, I mean, Christopher Sunday is like, why are you here?
hmm
And it's like even he's like trying to help Kevin. It's just like
Yeah.
it just, I guess I lost the sense of it as a true, you know like kind of magical place,
And
and
that
it's
might be the point,
yeah.
because I feel like I'm more convinced it's not a real place outside of Kevin, after that episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Even though,
I agree.
I think the biggest objective evidence we have it's a real place is Christopher Sunday knowing about the conversation that he had with the dad. Um,
Right.
right. That's like the biggest thing.
Yeah. The TV stuff with his dad and International Assassin was sort of similar, at least in terms of the details that he was able to
Yeah. Yeah.
somehow guess. But he did address that in the interview, and he basically said that the answer was something like what you said a few
What'd I
podcasts
say?
ago. Well, you said that he was like tapping into um
Mm.
he was tapping into Kevin Senior's consciousness somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were
Mm-hmm.
connecting somehow through this. And I mean, he basically confirmed that was it. It was some kind of um he called it, I forget, like dream time or something. It's some kind of
Yeah.
concept where they're all like floating in this realm, and they were able to like make contact
Yeah.
for a brief period. So like it really happened, but that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't in his head. That's the
Yeah,
weird.
yeah. Kevin created a special place in his head, and his dad created a special place in his head, and those
Yeah,
two places could
they
could
joined
could
up.
bridge between the two. And
Yeah,
then it calls into question of what is real, because if that
right,
can happen, is that not real? If it's
right.
if it's in your head, does that mean it's not real?
If other people can perceive it,
Mm-hmm.
it starts to seem like it has some reality beyond, you know. And then there's the question of Patty, if like she's really participating in this world in any sense, or
Mm-hmm.
Virgil or whatever, like, or the Mary conversation
And the
that
whole
never.
water thing doesn't even make any sense. In
Yeah, the water
hindsight.
thing was weird. I mean, it seemed like during season 2, it seemed like a reference to, the water from, the magic water from
Yeah.
that little place. You know what I mean? But yeah, I have no idea what that was about, and they don't talk about that in the new
Mm-hmm.
episode at all. Like that's gone as an idea completely.
Yeah, and
Um,
it calls into question, much like Lost, the idea of, I guess it's a very similar concept that some people knew about their past lives and some people were just playing the role, so it's just like the
right,
Flash Sideways and Lost, where some people were, ready to go and some people weren't, and some people were locked into whatever reality that they had in the Flash Sideways, and some people knew that they were dead and that this was a fake place and all that stuff. And so you see that here too, like you're saying with Virgil. On one hand, he knows what's going on, and he drinks the water, and he doesn't, and then like in the most powerful man in the world. All those, the Australian Kevin cop. He doesn't know he's dead. He's just like playing a
Right.
role as Secret
Right.
Service, but yeah,
Evie.
Patty shows up and she knows what's going on. Although she's playing a role
She
too.
acknowledges, like, but it is like it is stated in this like in-world way, like you summoned me from retirement or something like
Yeah,
that.
and somehow I know what to do and I know what to say and I know what the game is, and like I've
Yeah.
been given some like dossier of my character and like my goal
Right.
here, and now I'm gonna like play this role for you. And that's the thing too, we learned in that episode that whole idea that Patty was like, "Oh, Kevin, you released me or whatever," so it calls into question like, we talked about this before, but just that whole idea of, well, I guess she wasn't really his adversary. All
Right.
the stuff Kevin was doing to like take her to the well seemed like actually that was a good thing that he
Yeah.
did that. Should he taken everybody to the well? Like, does Virgil need to go to the well? Like, is that a
Right.
better place to go? And like, does Kevin draw these people out with his power? I mean, yeah, he seems pretty powerful if he can draw spirits from other realms into his consciousness.
Right.
That seems pretty powerful. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, it's very, yeah, so much craziness. But I think the big thing, my big takeaway from the show is that while the is it or isn't it, sort of game that they play of, is it supernatural or not or whatever, on all these different little points of the story, that's interesting, and if the writing's good and the characters are good, then you can kind of watch the show and be entertained and really get into it. But I think the problem, it's kind of a catch-22, because I feel like you can only really be satisfied if you aren't looking for answers. If you understand you're not going to get definitive yes or no answers on these big
Yeah.
questions and even smaller things, then I think you have the potential to be satisfied. But it's like a catch-22, because um you don't really get, because what the game that they're playing, so, and you don't really get to have that satisfaction of these things actually happening and being real, like on
Right.
Lost. Like if Lost was like, maybe the island moved, maybe the island didn't move.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, the island actually moved.
They played that
Smoke.
game with certain elements, but they didn't try to deny that like
Yeah, or even,
everything on the show like was somehow
yeah,
not
exactly.
supernatural.
Man in Black is really smoky. I mean, the smoke
Yeah.
monster is a real thing.
Yeah.
On Twin Peaks, these supernatural things are actually happening. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing. Not a lot of people do what Lindelof likes to do, and Peretta, was doing apparently with the book and stuff. But it's, yeah, I don't know. I find myself questioning, you know, how much I really like that, you know, of like, well, the whole point is to wonder if it's supernatural or not, but the answer is gonna be no, basically. Like I want maybe like another version of this show or whatever Lindelof does next, and do the same is it or isn't it thing, but actually make it true this time. Actually have Nora go through the machine for real. Actually make another universe where we see it's the inverse of ours, where everyone who departed on our world is there, and on their world everyone who didn't depart on our world is gone.
Right.
And like I think, because that's what I really want. Ultimately, is I want these things to actually have happened. I want these stories to be larger than life for real, and not just be, oh, let's look at the human psyche on how beliefs work, and how faith works, and how grief makes you cling to things that aren't necessarily rational. And that's all very interesting. But I just feel like while you're going through the story, it's great. When the story's over, you look back and you go, huh, what did I get out of that?
Right. 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 Yeah. 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 It's sort of uh, I don't know, an incomplete journey or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not really clear. Um, I guess that's what's weird about the style, like introducing, these levels of mystery and um, you know, supernatural intrigue into a show or into like a basic concept that, is fundamentally just a character show. Like I think I mean Lost sort of had this issue. I think that's why, a lot of people didn't like the ending, but I think it really is different in fundamental ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would be one thing if, and I think Twin Peaks has some of this too, if like with certain moments and certain details and certain specific issues, you don't know what the truth is. You don't know,
Mm-hmm.
what exactly happened, or, if such and such is a real thing, or what the explanation is for the things we see on screen. I think that's kind of how it plays out on Lost. It's like there's certain things that clearly did happen,
Mm-hmm.
and then there are other things, I'm thinking of stuff like the rules, or the origin of the island,
Mm-hmm.
or the ash, the cabin, where, you just don't know exactly what's going on with those things, if
Yeah.
they're real, if they're just constructs or whatever. But since like there is some reality to the story, it doesn't feel like a complete waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when it's like no, it was just like it was just like a holodeck episode or something, like
Yeah.
of very little consequence, in the end. I mean, except when, the holodeck characters like came to life or whatever. I mean, that could get
Mm-hmm.
interesting. But
The safety protocols are off.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But they had plenty of holodeck episodes that were just like these one-off things that, and they might have been fun on their own terms, but like ultimately didn't really matter because they were just a simulation, and
Yeah.
that's how some of that hotel world stuff starts to feel now. And um, I think season two there was a stronger sense of like a potential reality for that place,
Yep. Yep.
and I guess like I don't mind it being ambiguous. It bothers me more when it feels almost definitive that you know that it wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
what we thought it was at the time.
Yeah.
Um, you know, um, I also think like, I mean, yeah, the story of the girls disappearing and coming back and the guilty remnant and taking over the town, like that had some solid drama, and this is definitely like a very low key kind of ending. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
you know,
Yeah.
like I guess like there was a nuclear showdown in the previous episode, so somehow like that's the action climax.
Mm-hmm.
And here it's just this kind of quiet epilogue. um I guess on a character level, I like the fact that because we talked about various levels of bitter and sweet. um how bitter and how sweet, you
Mm-hmm.
know and the fact that they're talking to each other and like sort of reconciling or whatever, like that's the sweet note. um but something I do appreciate about the show that's like, in terms of it being about the relationship or whatever, is that like, you know there's no way around the fact that they spent 20 years apart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They didn't live happily ever after, from the present.
Yeah.
20 years later, maybe they'll somehow, get back together, but that's 20 years. I mean, that's, I guess I appreciate the bitter aspect of it, that they were willing to say, like, even if Kevin realized he fucked up, it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't able to, and only by crazy coincidence did he ever even discover her again.
Yeah, it's an interesting love story, love story in quotes, because it's basically about two dysfunctional people who really shouldn't be together, and they break up. and
Yeah.
20 years goes by, and then they reunite
Yeah.
without really explicitly having their shit together. I mean, Nora is basically just hiding out, hiding from her past, and she made this
Yeah.
sort of, she sort of, in my opinion, she didn't go through the machine, so she's been sort of letting this lie
Oh,
persist
you
out
don't think
there.
she went through the
I don't think
machine?
she went through the
You're
machine.
taking a stand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm taking a stance. I don't think the machine worked. I think if she would have gone through it, she would have died. Her, that cast that we saw, or the fossil as they call it, which was a very cool visual to see, but that sphere with like a human form carved out of it.
Yeah.
I think it's what they said before. I think you just get irradiated, and it's just you turn into particles and dust, and that's it. I think it seems so unlikely that the machine could actually work with them having verified that it works. You know what I mean? Like there was never any verification. No one went there and came back. And like
Until now.
one of the scientists even said it. Her thought was that if you go through the machine, you're going to end up in space. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, what's the vector? What's the trajectory of this machine? Like, is the other planet in, the other version of Earth where the people may have gone to, is that even, in the same dimensional space? Do you need to adjust things? The fact that it's been
Right.
7 years, does that matter? There's so many variables. And the idea that it just works, that they just measured the amount of radiation and the kind of radiation, and then they just gonna blast you with that, and that's all it takes. Like, I don't know what science. I'm not a scientist, but I don't know what science is that simple. Especially cutting edge science like that. So yeah,
Right.
I don't think she went through it. I think she concocted a story. I think she knew or thought to herself, if she ever did come across Kevin or anyone else from her past, what would she tell them? So I think that's why
Even
this
after 20
story.
years, she's got a whole life. I mean, he totally gave her the out, and like I thought it was going to be true. You changed your mind. You changed your mind at the last minute.
Yeah, but
You
Nora's
know,
stubborn. She's a very
real
stubborn.
stubborn apparently.
Yeah, that's the thing. She's a stubborn character, and I think she had a story in herself, and I think part of her. Listen, if she didn't ever go, then she's still a broken character because she never got the closure with her kids, right?
Right.
That's what she says. Like, my kids aren't dead; they're just gone, and she can't. And that's why Kevin's like, go be with them then, because you can't be present in this relationship in this reality if you have one. If you're looking backwards towards your kids, right? Like that makes total sense. And like if she never went, then she never got healed. But if she tried to go and at the last minute stopped, which it's almost there, man. Like that's it's almost is certain she yelled stop. Now whether they stopped or not is a different question, but she's screaming out something that starts with an S almost in that shot, and I'm surprised they even gave us that much really. But so if she wanted to go, she was gonna do it and change her mind at the last minute, and then in her head told her, has this story that she went and she saw the kids and that, the kids were happier without her, or, not necessarily without her, but they were happy.
Yeah.
And that was good enough. And that's all she really needed, was to know that they were happy, not necessarily to be reunited with them, but that they were okay. And she tells her the story, and I think wasn't that a thing on here about like that's the better story. What is that from? Wasn't that in the previous episode? This idea of believing in the better story. Um. Anyway, yeah, that's what I think happened. I think and that's why the story she tells seems very authentic, because she's told this story before. She's gone through that idea of what could have happened if she had gone to this other place. What would have been like?
Right.
So, do you think she went through, or are you staying agnostic?
I feel very agnostic about it. I mean, I noticed when the scene was playing out that, you know, uh, that like, it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear what we were supposed to think about it, and it's like, of course they're going to do, and I mean, it's another like genius prediction that came true. Like, will they give an answer about the departure? Yes, but it will be totally subjective. whether you believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I think.
it'll just be from some character's point of view, and you know, even if she experienced that, it's
Mhm.
still sort of like questionable, um but yeah, she could even just be making up the story completely.
Mhm.
It's it's an interesting. They don't show any uh video,
Yeah.
of that world,
Yeah. And what's interesting about that is I feel like her story is very visually descriptive, and I feel like as she's describing it, you're playing it out in your head, and so you get this sense that you're seeing it.
Yeah,
Her showing up in that parking lot empty, and she's naked, and she's
yeah,
walking for a long time. Like you can see it in your head, beat by beat, and she sees the kids, and she's hiding behind the tree. And I feel
yeah.
like without them actually, cutting to that footage, because that would be objective reality. um they just give us her very visually descriptive story, and it kind of makes us feel like, oh, it's real, but it's like, no, you didn't actually see it.
Right. Right. And yeah, of course, Damon Lindelof did not take a position on whether it's true or not.
Hmm.
Though he did say that it's valid. No, he did say that he was surprised that I guess most of the people he talked to like took it at face value, that it was true,
Mm.
and that like, surprise, you thought we weren't going to answer the sudden
Yeah,
departure,
I
but we
think that's what
did.
people want. People want it to be true. People want the supernatural thing to be the real thing, because our
Yeah.
life isn't like that generally.
Right.
And that's why we turn to stories. So yeah, I can see that of them giving people enough ambiguity that they side with. Yeah, yeah, she really did go through.
Right.
But I feel like the show has basically, if you made a list of all of the supernatural or crazy stuff that happened, I think there's more normal things than supernatural, objectively real
Yeah.
supernatural things. And I
Except for
think,
the departure. I mean, that's really
and
the
that
only thing.
the one thing, besides the one
Yeah.
that one prime event.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Which
That one you
I
can't
don't even know
argue
if the
with.
departure happened. I'm still questioning it.
Oh God.
I'm like, I'm not quite sure. Is this a mass delusion? Everyone's assuming
Oh my God.
that people left. No, I'll take it that the departure happened. We saw people there and gone.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but yeah. Anyway, you want to get into the episode?
Sure. Sure. Let's do it.
All right.
Okay. So we start off with uh, Nora recording her little intro video. Somehow, like the most believable thing in the world. Um, like when you watch these, that's when you know it's real. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Right.
Um, they make her do it again because the bad cop one, doesn't think she means it. Which, why does it even matter? I mean, I guess maybe it's just marketing reasons, but whatever. Did she pay? By the way, did she pay?
That's a
Um,
good question. I feel like, and honestly, the biggest question that she didn't ask them is, why was she rejected? And they
yeah, we
just
never
skip
found out
past.
about the
They
question or
just
anything like
The
that.
whole baby thing. Yep, the twin babies
Yeah,
question. They just completely skip by that, and it doesn't matter. She apparently, just the fact that she found them was enough for them to do this thing. And why were they even there
yeah.
in the first place? Is a question. Like, I don't even know.
Why were who where?
Yes. Why was the machine where it was? Like,
Oh,
did, did,
okay.
did,
Yeah,
did
yeah, yeah.
somebody else go through it there? Like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, I guess so, right? Didn't they bring out that little thing? Wasn't that the idea?
I guess somebody, yeah, I guess
Like
that was the
somebody else
idea. I didn't
had
know.
gone
I
through
didn't
it.
think about when they would have gotten that fossil, but yeah, that makes sense. Like maybe that was Markland Baker.
Well, they claimed he had already gone through when she was in that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, but I mean
uh,
that still could have been his fossil.
oh yeah, yeah, fair enough. That's totally true. Yeah, so I mean, I assumed at the time, based on a kind of vague recollection of what they said in episode 2, that the idea was that since she found them and they're kind of like doing this illegally, they're not supposed to do this stuff on human subjects, expose them to so much radiation and so on. It's an experimental, thing. And Nora was for a time, threatening to expose them, Um, so I just kind of connected the dots and assumed that the idea was like, you have to let me use it or I'm going to, call the authorities and get you shut down and so on. But they don't say that explicitly. They just say like they had no choice because she was there,
Yeah.
and it's weird that like no time is spent on that. And also the question about the babies, it's like, well, why did that matter? And it's,
Yeah, and it's one thing if they're not gonna address the whole twin baby question thing, as like a sort of test to see if she's valid to go through this machine. But then to call into question her little video here, like you don't mean it. Well, screw you if I mean it or not. Like that was before when I was just a regular person and trying to get into this machine, but it's like all bets are off now. I followed you here. Like, what difference does it
yeah.
make? Like, why am I even recording this video?
That's why I thought like maybe it's just down to like marketing. Like they wanted a better take because they thought
but
it would
do
play
they
better.
need any more? Like,
You
don't they have
wouldn't think
hundreds?
so. You wouldn't think so. Yeah, it's almost like they don't even have to record her. Like
Yeah.
this is sort of a bonus one anyway.
Exactly.
It's not like there's like a catalog or something
Mm-hmm.
that, well, where's Nora Durst's video?
Yeah.
Like no one's gonna care. So yeah, it's like what is even at stake? And then it made me think that maybe that was a clue about the baby thing, that like they didn't believe her answer or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? They didn't think she meant it.
So like it was the right answer, but she didn't mean it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like maybe that's all it came down to. Like if that's such a big deal, I don't know. It's weird. It's I mean, I don't know. It's such a small thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
why not tell us? Because surely there's an answer, right? This isn't like the question of like what happens when you die, or you know what I mean? This isn't
I
like
think it might be. I think it might just be a question that has no definitive answer. It's just about how you answer the question.
But that's the thing. I mean, there's some reason why they're asking it, and there's something they're looking for, and it might not be as simple as they're looking for this answer,
Mm-hmm.
but you know what I mean? Like, there is a reason why they're doing that, presumably, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it's just
Seems like you should
randomness.
ask that question first. If it's the one that can disqualify
Yeah,
you, why didn't I ask that first so no one has to go through the rigmarole of all the
it
other
would be
tests
way
and stuff?
simpler. Yeah, yeah, definitely. They
Or
should
maybe
they
it's
should totally do that.
and the fact that I don't think the machine works, but maybe part of that is convincing. You go through all of the tests and the doctor and all the questions to make it seem legitimate, to make so maybe the question is it's still kind of about how honest you answer, but it's sort of how much you've bought into this whole thing. But I think at that point Nora had bought
Right.
in, and that shouldn't have disqualified her. So doesn't really explain it, but maybe it's something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, that makes sense, sort of. But it's like,
And like you know, why did they tell us that the scientists are a couple? It's such a weird thing to like. She follows them to their house. Is just for economic reasons? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if they weren't a couple, she would have had to go to two different
so she could just
places.
go to one house.
If she
Yeah.
could go to one
Yeah.
house, and it's like, okay, well, they both live in one house. What are they, roommates? No, 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 no. They're a couple. We'll make them a couple,
Yeah.
and it's just like, to give us a little, that kind of like backstory on them for,
It's a little bit
uh,
of character development. Yeah.
yeah, for characters we don't care about.
Well, speak for yourself. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah, I feel like it definitely seems like a convenience thing. it just streamlines that whole thing. Um, and I guess they thought that was more interesting than just having them be roommates.
Yeah.
But it does seem like it doesn't matter at all.
No.
So I mean,
Just like
like
this
that.
video there she's recording.
Right, right, right. And yet it's like, God, Dr. Becker, like, what's your deal?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you so like,
Well, it's interesting that one of
sullen?
the main scientists doesn't even think this machine does what it's supposed to
I
do. It's like,
know, I
well, then
know.
you're really complicit in whatever's happening here. I mean, if you are
Yeah,
skeptical and you're not stopping this thing, I don't understand you at all.
yeah, yeah. It's weird,
All right, we can continue.
and we get no answers about
And we
that.
get no answers. And why was there a
So,
piano in the warehouse?
oh my God, what a waste of time. Yeah, like, what the fuck are they doing? Oh man, these people are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, so, like, yeah, I just don't get it. Anyway, so after the video thing, they explain to her what's going to happen, basically, in terms of going into the chamber, and she's
Mm-hmm.
got to pull her knees up and hold her breath, and then there would be like liquid metal that would be radiated, and so it's just kind of a description of what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we get a scene with Nora and Matt, where they kind of this is their final scene.
Yep.
I guess they never spoke again. I mean,
Yeah, and it's like Nora is back in the real world and she doesn't want to talk to Matt. I guess he
nah.
died
He
before.
did die. He did die, but she didn't go to the funeral, and she says to Kevin, like, I said my goodbyes.
Mm-hmm.
So like, this is it. This is it right here.
What a
Um,
life, Nora. I don't get you. I don't understand. I don't get it at all. I don't know what. I mean, I guess the only explanation is she was just so damaged by the departure she never healed and she couldn't,
yeah,
even this whole thing whether
that's
she
part of
went
why I
through.
want to believe it really happened. Because if she really went in and came back, then it took years probably, and so like, it's a little better excuse for
Yeah,
why she didn't
but then she doesn't seem healed though. She still
heal
seems like she has her problem still.
problems.
Are you Dougie Cooper? Are you just gonna repeat everything I say? This is not the Twin Peaks podcast. Yeah, I just feel like
No, I thought in a way she was healed. I thought she was healed in terms of, it seemed to me like she was healed in terms of like her family, just like knowing that if she really went there, knowing that they were okay, they had like a
then why is
happy
she so
family
weird? And
situation.
when in the 20 years later, why is she so weird?
Because she came back and, well, I don't remember. What did she say the problem was?
I don't get it. I don't
There was,
know. I don't
hold on.
know.
There was a
Why
problem.
is she living her life in isolation?
Uh, yeah. She came back and it was too late. It was
What
too
was too
late.
late?
It was too late to it had been years.
Oh,
I
you
don't
mean
know.
in terms of her calling Kevin? In
Yeah,
terms of her reuniting Kevin, she thought it was too
yeah.
late.
Too late for that. Too late for that. And so yeah,
And here's the
that's
line, and I knew that if I told you what happened, you would never believe me. And
yeah.
it's like, that's old Nora talking. That's not healed Nora talking. I mean, because that's like what Kevin told her, like, well, if I told you everything, you would have handcuffed me to the bed and left like you did last time. I mean, that's what a broken person, like, it shouldn't matter to Nora if Kevin believes her or not. She knows the truth. You know what I mean? If
Right.
you're a sort of whole person, like, I feel like that's the perspective you would have, not like, I need you to validate what my experience is, or your potential in non-validation of my experience would bother me. or something. And then and of course he says, I believe you. So she was proven wrong. It's like 20 wasted years.
Right.
I mean, maybe he wouldn't have believed her 20 years ago or something. They're kind of saying, but she believes him now, but he believes her now. But I don't know. I'm a little bothered by some of that stuff. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense that she would come back to this world and just raise birds forever,
Yeah, why not? Birds.
Birds.
That's my that's all there is left for me in this world is these birds.
These love birds.
Love birds. Fucking love birds. Yeah. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. It's weird. I mean, it's sort of like she dealt with her past like issues, but not her present ones. Which it seemed like the two were connected.
Right? Aren't the present issues because of the past issues?
Well, sometimes you have a point, and
or maybe the show is saying sometimes when you're healed, you're not really healed.
Could be.
Sometimes when you think you fixed your past, it doesn't fix your present.
Yeah, or maybe that wasn't really it. Like that wasn't enough.
So here's the question, right? The big, big, big question is, Nora and Kevin are together at the end. How are we supposed to think, or what makes us think it's going to work out this time?
Or does that even matter? 20 years. I mean, how much worse can it get?
The surely. Is how much better can it get?
Well. Maybe 20 years is enough to kind of put aside all of the baggage and all of the, lingering sort of, I guess the 3 years weren't enough, but maybe 20 will do it, to where
7 years weren't enough.
Kind of move on from the, just Kevin and Nora per se, I mean, all that stuff was, forgetting about Nora's own issues, all that stuff was 3 years, started 3 years after, the departure. And, like the Lily stuff. And
then they were together for 4 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So 4 years of being together. Yeah. Something like that.
But the whole time they were together, they didn't really move past certain things that were happening along the way, Like the Kevin scene where he's like, yeah, you would just handcuff me if I told you what really, it was clear that like they didn't really address that, when she came back at the end of season 2. Like that ended up just being like a festering thing of like, you won't believe me if I tell you anything crazy that happens to me now, so I have to just keep it a secret from you, and so I'm gonna put a back over my head.
Yeah.
And Nora's like, I'm gonna get a tattoo with my kids on it because like I haven't moved on from them, even though I pretend like I have. It's sort of like maybe they're past that stuff now. I agree. There's no particular reason to think that they have, but 20 years, maybe.
Yeah, I guess
it seems at least possible.
It's strange to just depict her life, which seems fairly sullen, living in solitude, as some sense that she's okay now.
Yeah.
Or or even like it'd be different if they had depicted that she wished Kevin back, that she wanted him back, that she even cared anymore. I feel like that's what's weird is he comes back, he never stopped wanting to find her. Right. And she's like, oh, well, I gave up on you and us because I really think she didn't have the confidence, really to, she was like, it was too late. Well, he didn't think it was too late. He never stopped and he wouldn't have ever stopped.
He had just turned a corner, I mean, that whole, that whole experience of going to the crazy hotel world, caused him to realize that he fucked it up.
You're proving my point. That why didn't Nora have that?
I don't think she had that moment.
If she went through and found the key to her getting past her kids. You know, like why didn't that change her?
I really want to because dreams.
Because dreams. I
Does
think it's
that work
because
here?
it doesn't work here. No, no. That spell has no magic in this realm. Yeah, I think it's because she didn't actually go. That's why she didn't change. I feel like she's the same Nora that we saw before she went to the machine. I don't see any difference.
She's older.
Wow, there's one difference. You're right. Her hair's longer.
Yeah. No, but I mean, yeah, she's never gonna change. But
change.
but maybe she can change in like, yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I don't know, but also.
It's like if you just start talking, your brain will like give you the thing you want to say.
That's what I'm hoping.
But then you get there and your brain has nothing.
Just hypothetically, it sort of seems like, you start all over, have a fresh start. Maybe she didn't, she had been living in exile for so long, like she didn't really, think about but once he shows up, maybe she
She's
realizes.
scared when she shows up.
Well, yeah, it takes her.
She runs away.
Just to go through.
She's not like, oh, the love of my life, the one that got away, the one I thought it was too late. He's been looking for me this whole time. Oh wow, that's so amazing. How special.
But she wanted to go to the dance. Don't forget.
Reluctantly.
No, she was fighting herself, but she knew deep down she wanted to go to that dance.
Yeah, and but then after the dance, like she leaves him there. And then,
she
like,
left him there because she didn't like doing the fake thing anymore. But then but when he shows up, they have their tea and they have a heart to heart, and it was.
And she lies to him
and
she lies to him that she's better.
No, she didn't lie. It was all true.
And she does the whole goat. You think a person who's healthy does the goat thing where she like takes the sins of the towns upon herself?
Yeah, that's what healthy people help goats who are in distress. And she didn't want the goat to be wearing the beads because it might get stuck on a fence again. Mm-hmm. So she thought she should take the beads, and that's because she's a good person.
Why would she put them on herself and not put them on the ground or carry them? Why would she
I mean, they're poisonous. I mean, maybe like, are they poison? Why am I saying that? Are they poisonous?
Well, I guess if you ate them, they wouldn't be good for you.
Well, isn't that a problem? Like, don't like seagulls or something like choke themselves on those beads?
So
like,
you're bringing seagulls into this. I don't think. I'm not sure your argument has a lot to stand on. It's
you don't want to just it's littering. I mean, can we talk about littering?
Hashtag littering. All right. Yeah, you're vamping.
No, but I mean, I
seagulls.
think,
all those birds, right? All those lovebirds would eat the beads and die, and she'd be out of business. Yeah,
there you go. It's the birds. It's for the birds. She works with birds. See,
it's
I didn't pull it out of my ass. She works with birds. It's all about the birds.
Birds and the beads.
The birds. Exactly.
Wow, we just solved it.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the goat and the beads. It's the birds and the beads.
Birds and the beads. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, I still maybe by the end of the podcast I'll be convinced that she went there. And
I don't think there's any way I can convince you because your argument makes sense, and really, and this is where the show comes in, because this is just like what it's all about. I just kind of want to believe it. I guess I want.
Oh, me too.
I want to know what happened with the machine, yep. And if she didn't go through, just fucking say it. I just want to know, right? There's a fact, right? There's a fact. Did she let the machine radiate her or not? Mm-hmm. That's not like some kind of ambiguous thing like what happens when we die. That's like there's just a true or false like question there, you
Mhm.
know, and I just want to know. And it's like the only answer we get on screen is that she went through it, and
Mhm.
you know, and the story she tells is interesting and semi plausible. And so I'm just thinking like, yeah, I'll go with that.
You think it's plausible that she tracked down the original scientist who made the machine and had him
I
build
said
her
semi
another
plausible.
one?
Okay, honestly, that's the part of the story that bothers me the most.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is like the whole idea of like she tracked this guy down and he built a machine to come back and
Mhm.
no one else has done that. I
Yep.
mean, surely someone
Especially
else who
living in this desolate world with only 2% of the population still
that's what
there.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm sure that like there was experiences like maybe they were different. I mean, maybe the thing with Nora is like she lost her whole family, so maybe she's the only one who went there and found like the people she was looking for were actually still fine.
Mhm.
So maybe that's like why she's the only one who came back. But I just feel like, yeah, with a world like that, I imagine some other people would be like, you know what? This world sucks.
Mhm.
Actually, we were the lucky ones.
Or how about the fact that we have 2 Earths now?
Yeah.
And we can go back and
Earth
forth
2.
between the 2. How about
Yeah.
that? How about letting people know that like
Fucking
we
hey.
have a backup planet now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of cool. And really it sets the stage for like actually here's what I want to do with Dr. Von Egan. Listen, Dr. Von Egan, uh you found out the story is like uh you know, he didn't want to God, what was the explanation? He didn't want to he didn't want to I forgot what it was. He didn't want to risk that he couldn't get back there or something. Like I think that's the
Hmm.
answer. I think that's the answer. Like he didn't want to risk because it worked at one time. He didn't want to risk he couldn't get back there. And so but sure, fine, Dr. Von Egan. If you want to stay there, Dr. Von Egan, you could do that. You
Mhm.
know, you know, free will. I mean, go for it. But in that world, surely there would be plenty of people, not just the people who came over,
Mhm.
but the people who are just there, like, oh, by the way, the 98% world still exists, and I came from
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah,
I continue there.
you think we had it bad with 2%
Yeah,
leaving? How about
yeah,
98% leaving?
yeah. That's like
How
true
about that from your
apocalypse.
existential crisis? I
Yeah,
mean, and then why would only the 2% of us be left here? I mean, I want to see that show, you
that show
know.
would be crazy,
Yeah.
totally crazy. And yeah, introducing that idea in only dialogue is so frustrating because it's such
Mhm.
an interesting idea, and I kind of wish they had really explored that some, you
Yeah.
know, like on screen. Like it's a really interesting, I mean, I kind of wish they had pushed it earlier in the season so we could maybe like spend a whole episode there or something,
Mhm.
you know. Of course, if it didn't really happen, then that would be why they never did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the main thing that bothered me. It's sort of like good for you, Dr. Von Egan, but there's a whole world here of people who, you know, a lot of them I'm sure would love to be in the 98% world,
Yep.
and you know how to do it.
Mhm.
If Nora Durst convinced you to send her back,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
I don't
what did she
understand.
do? Stake out your house and then track you,
He
like,
had no
around he
choice.
had no
I had no
choice.
choice. I just had to
And, like,
build it
how
again.
the resources that it takes to build it,
How did he get the
how did he afford it? How
resources?
did he they
The
already
story.
said, they don't have any enough pilots to keep,
Yeah,
air traffic going, so it's
yeah,
like and they're gonna get all this other materials that they need, yeah,
yeah.
I don't buy it. So, here's the question, you buy it. Here's the
That's the least
question.
believable part of the story for me.
So what do you think happened when we see Nora in the machine, we see the liquid about to, go to the top, and she leans back and she's about to scream something and they cut.
Mhm.
And it
Yep.
almost looks like she's about to say stop. So what do you think happens there? How do you
I
explain that?
well, I thought she was about to say stop, but either she didn't or she did and it was too late. I mean, that would be my
Okay, so
explanation.
you think that she most likely said stop, but that it didn't matter, that the machine kept
It was
going
yeah,
or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was already in there, and so it just happened anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, that would be the assuming it's true. And I say I want to believe it because I think it's a more interesting story. But I felt the same way about the hotel. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like, what does that say about me? That seems to be the
Yeah.
issue
Yeah.
here. Not necessarily what the story itself is, because I just find it disappointing if
Mm-hmm.
she didn't go through, and we never find out what happens when you go
Mm-hmm.
through,
That's
because
life.
it's like a double whammy. Yeah, I know. Thanks. That's life. Thanks, Mr. Lindelof. I got it. I know. I
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm. It's just like
Oh
life
God.
that way. Aren't you happy now? Doesn't that satisfy you?
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing. Like it's cool to be like life, but also maybe one of the
Mm-hmm.
key things about telling stories is that
Yeah.
we get
Uh-huh.
to put a measure of control and narrative
Yeah.
and sort of answers that we don't get in life. Maybe that's part of the appeal of
I feel like
storytelling.
that is the main part of the appeal of storytelling is getting answers to life, getting instructions on how to live life. Potentially, it's like, you know why I like Lord of the Rings? Because it's just like real life. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It just, yeah, I think, yeah, I wish can be more convinced, that she actually went through the thing. I just was skeptical of the machine from the beginning. It doesn't help that one of the main scientists is skeptical of the machine, you know, so like that doesn't help, and it just,
Well, I guess she wasn't necessarily skeptical that it worked. She was just skeptical that it would,
you would go to where you think you would go. That it
yeah,
would,
that it would
yeah,
lead to a
yeah.
place that was habitable. But she did think they were going wherever the departed went.
She did think
So
that.
she
That's
thought it
true.
worked to that extent.
That's true. That's true. She was just skeptical that, yeah, that it would be a place you'd want to go to, because
Right.
she thinks they're
Right.
just a bunch of bodies floating in space somewhere.
Because they still don't know what happened to the departed, even though they're
Mm-hmm.
sure they went somewhere, which turns out to be maybe true. Again, like it seems like the whole season is like is kind of setting us up to believe this story, because
Yeah.
like we talked about it throughout the season, how like all different characters, different parts of the world, totally different scenarios are all saying kind of the same thing about what happened to the departed people, that they kind of transported somewhere, you know, which like is implied by the term departed,
Yeah.
but but really no one knew what happened to them, you
Mm-hmm.
know, um, and so it's sort of like it's sort of like now that we get like, oh yeah, that's what happened, they transported to like Earth 2 with 2% of the pop. It's sort of it's an answer that's consistent with that, and so it seems like the whole season was kind of pushing us in the direction of like believing the story, because it fits with what they had kind of told us about,
Yeah.
even though there was no justification for it. It fits with what they told us before,
Yeah.
which makes me even more suspicious that it's actually true, but it is an interesting theory. It's a kind of like crackpot theory that I could imagine someone having, you know, episode 1, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe the 2% are on an Earth where 98% disappeared,
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like you don't really need to. I mean, it's not like the show really investigates it deeply anyway, so like why would you get
Well, what's
answers from
interesting
the show?
is the answer that we get, or her explanation of the other world of Earth 2, has a kind of conceit that's hard to really think about, right? Because you could imagine that, and what most people think is, the 2% from our world went somewhere else. And if there's another Earth, they went to that Earth, and so they would just be on an Earth that's not inhabited, an Earth that's not colonized, an Earth that's not industrialized, just some other place, And I think what the sort of extra element here is the idea that from the 2%'s perspective, the 98% went somewhere else.
Right.
And that's the kind
They're
of
the
thing that's
leftovers.
hard to guess, I think, off the top. Like, oh, but from their perspective, everyone else vanished. And the and
Right.
the and the 2% don't realize that they're on Earth too,
Right.
and it's really relative which Earth is Earth too.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
If you're going by democracy, then the 98% wins. But yeah, objectively, that doesn't really that doesn't really count.
Hmm.
Like science is not democracy.
And it's like, the Earth sort of splits, a dimensional split happened, and then some people went one way and some people went the other, and it definitely calls into question if it could happen again or if the two Earths will
Right.
unify. And that's the thing. It'd be interesting. I mean, the show would never get into this, but the man who created the machine, like, it'd be interesting if he had some way to re-merge the Earths or whatever, and bring
Right.
everybody back to one. If there was a big
Yeah,
enough
Dr. Von Egan, why don't you
energy
work on
source,
that?
yeah, like maybe if you had a big enough energy source, you could irradiate the whole planet and it would sync it back up to itself or something.
I'm so irritated with Nora's version of that character. Like,
You mean the Dr. Von Egan?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah, like that guy that she describes annoys me. I feel like if we actually tracked him down, he would be like, "No, that is not what I said."
Mm-hmm. He's German.
Yeah, something like
I mean,
that.
he has an
No.
accent.
He's got an accent. He's definitely got an accent. That whole crew's got accents. They're the accented crew.
The accent crew. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah,
But
I mean,
yeah,
I would
yeah.
I would love to believe the machine was real. That was my belief going into it. Well, I guess that was my theory, was that Nora was going to use the machine,
She
but
was in the machine world.
it was going to be ambiguous whether or not she actually went there or not, or it would be the other place, but they wouldn't necessarily say it was the other place. They would leave it up in
Right,
the air, and they kind of did that, where they just left it ambiguous of whether or not she went to that place.
right.
Um,
But
it would
she
have been
was still
interesting.
in the real world, the standard
Yeah,
90%
it would have been
world.
interesting too if they had just said that, like, um the machine take lets you go to the other Earth, but like for a short amount of time, and then you just get pulled
Right.
back or something.
Hmm.
That would have been interesting, and they could have left Dr. Egan out of it.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
Right. All right. So, do you want to continue with
Mm-hmm.
the recapping? So we left off with this final scene that she has with Matt. They do a little Mad Lib and kind of reminisce about things, and Matt talks about, like, you know being, not knowing how he can get up in front of people and tell them he has answers and stuff because he has no. It's sort of like they walked up to the edge of saying, like, he's lost his faith, but I
Mm-hmm.
guess that's not true. I mean, I guess he just doesn't think he knows anything
I think he
anymore.
lost his faith. I don't
Did
think
he
he
lose his faith?
knows. Yeah, I don't think he knows what to believe in anymore.
Because, like, yeah, I think that's interesting. Like, if that's true, which, it's sort of like that. I think that's interesting because you never see that story, like, ever. That was something I noticed. Like, years ago. Like, it's very common to see, some kind of clergy character lose their faith. But that'll be at the beginning of the story, or
Mm-hmm.
they've already lost it. And the way that arc always goes is that through the whatever happens in the story, they get their faith back.
Yeah.
Faith as a positive is so universal in storytelling that, like, it's kind of
Yeah.
shocking to me that Matt's journey here seems like it's actually selling the loss of faith as a positive thing, for him. That actually, that was a positive psychological breakthrough.
Why positive?
It just seems to me like he is, um, uh, he's going to go reconcile with Mary. He seems to have, like, let go of his crazy apocalyptic visions, and he seems to have.
So yeah, so maybe I would say that his loss of faith made him reprioritize his life, and so he didn't have his faith as the main priority, so he was able to address address
Right.
other things. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Just it seemed to me like he was a lot happier after that stuff happened. Um, just visibly on screen, and then based on the stuff they tell us that he did, that yeah, that actually seeing God get eaten by a lion or something was kind of this delirious moment.
Which they never came back to. They never. I
No,
always thought there'd be some David Burton guy gets eaten by a lion or
right?
something like on the news, and just nothing. They didn't even ever come
No.
back to that.
No, and Kevin's abandoning of him in the world is definitely one of the most disappointing aspects of that whole thing, because you never even get you never get a real like confrontation there. You never really get like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, some kind, like, who, like, what's your deal?
Like you're not God, and I don't know why you think you can tell me what to do, but you can't, and he should hang up on him. Like it just
Yeah.
yeah. There's no reconciling what he does in that episode with what David Burton told him on the
Yeah, why is he
bridge,
still
and
helping? Like,
yeah,
what's going on?
yeah.
Why did he say you're the most powerful man in the world? Why has he been helping Kevin this whole time? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's just weird. It's just weird. Why is he there? Does he acknowledge his real life? You know what I mean? Was it
Mm-hmm.
just a weird coincidence that he used God as a pickup line? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like, it's weird. I agree. I thought they would go back to that. I thought that would be a bigger thing. I thought he was gonna have a twin.
Yeah, the David Burton
Totally.
has a twin was a great theory.
It seems so plausible.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who would have thought, no, Kevin's gonna have a twin, but it'll be, a fake crazy world twin,
Mm-hmm.
so
Where
it
his
doesn't
twin is the
really.
same person.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, so yeah, Nora says, "What are you gonna tell people about what happened to me?" And he says, "Whatever you want me to." And they conclude the scene there. I think we don't know what he told people. Uh,
Well, I think he told people
so
she went through the machine and she's
w-
gone.
is that what she wanted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Are you sure? Because
Well, that's
uh,
what the whole point was, right?
wait, is that did Kevin say that's what he said later?
I don't remember if that's what he said. He said, but I mean, when she
Because
go,
he still thought she was around, like, I thought he didn't even
oh,
know
you're
that she might have
right.
gone through the
He's going
machine,
on
because I
Australia
think she
looking
has
for
to tell
her.
him that.
I thought he said Matt said Nora's gone. I thought it was something like general like that. And but Kevin was still just looking for her. But I don't remember. I guess we'll get to that scene.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about, like, what did Matt say, and so I was looking at that scene, and it's like, I'll say whatever you want, and it's like, okay, and the end of scene, like, you never hear what she wanted him to say,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not really clear what he said, as far as I can tell.
Well, we know with Lori, when Lori was dropping them off at the machine, Nora and Kev and Matt, I thought it was fairly clear that she was going to go tell the rest of them that Nora is going to go through this machine thing.
No, no, it was privileged, like
Oh, that's
documentation
right.
privilege. She
Sorry.
she
Don't tell them
refused to
anything.
disclose anything about it. Yeah.
All right, that's right.
Yeah, I don't think she ever said anything to anyone about it. So that's why Matt is the leaky faucet here. If that's a right term. Anyway, like, in terms of what because he's the other person that kind of knows.
Here he
Um,
goes. Here he goes. This is it. So I thought I was right.
okay.
You want to know how I found you, Nora? You want the truth? When Matt told me you were gone, I didn't believe him, or I couldn't. I just had this feeling you were still alive and I would see you again. And then Matt died and you weren't at the funeral. So that's the thing. So Matt said she was gone, but
She's gone.
Kevin didn't believe her. That's why he kept
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
her.
So I guess that's another like subtle point there. At least I say subtle because I didn't realize it before. That if Nora actually didn't go through with it, then Matt should know that too, right? Wasn't he there?
Yeah, he should know that.
Yeah, so then he would have seen her come out, and he would know that she decided to just go on
Yeah,
the run
but then
and
he
covered for
still
her.
told people that she left. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's I mean, okay, but it seems stranger to me that he would do that if he knew she was still around than if she actually went through the machine.
Yeah, that's stranger. It's still, I mean, it's all strange. Lori lying is all strange. Like
Yeah,
it's strange from every angle. There's no way it's not strange. You know.
right.
And yeah, here's some more lines. Kevin's like, yeah, everyone else said you were dead. Um, I decided to look for you. I was gonna start where I lost you. Yeah, yeah. So I think Matt. I think Nora didn't go through the machine, but she couldn't go back to her real life, and Matt knew that. And Matt just told people she went through the machine. She was gone. And maybe he just said gone. Maybe he didn't say what, specifically the machine. Maybe he just said she's gone, and
Yeah,
he took that to mean dead, or he took that to mean something else.
right,
But so maybe not explicitly that Kevin thought she went through the machine, but that she was dead.
right,
Effectively dead.
right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, it's just strange to me. But yeah, fair enough. It's
Mm-hmm.
strange. There's no way around that. That's just
And
how it
why do they
is.
why do they have to go through the machine naked? I mean, like the Departed weren't naked. Their clothes went with them,
Oh,
right? Didn't their clothes
crackpot.
go
No,
with
not
them?
crackpot. Plot hole. No. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, definitely their clothes went with them. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
just a
they just totally vanished.
little strange, but they're doing this artificially, so maybe that's their way around it.
Right. There you go. There you go. Nature doesn't need you to be naked. It's like the Terminator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, their version's like the Terminator, where you have to be naked.
You have to be naked, which is a little strange, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I don't yeah. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the point is aside from it just, gives the scene some weight or something. It makes her seem really vulnerable.
Well, and it's she's regressing, right? I mean, I think the idea. I mean, she's
Yeah,
in the
going into
fetal,
the womb or
fetal
something.
position,
Yeah.
in the womb, and yeah, that
Yeah.
whole thing is there.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so in this scene, they're doing a Mad Libs to come up with her obituary. So I mean, I think that's another sense that he's saying she died. It's there's some
Right.
obituary here.
But it's just like I mean, maybe he just makes some stuff up, but he can't just be like, "Oh, Nora, yeah, she died."
Mm-hmm. Why
Like,
can't she? Why can't he do that?
how?
I
What
no,
happened?
not that she died. That she's gone.
But
Nora's gone now.
well, okay, what does that mean, Matt? She's gone.
I'm sorry, Kevin. I have to take this phone call.
No, god damn
I'm
it.
late
And then
for a
it
sermon. I don't
destroys the
know.
phone.
Yeah,
What do
yeah,
you mean
yeah,
she's
yeah.
gone?
People don't have to be explicit on this show. You know that, right?
They don't have to, but
Mm-hmm.
but when it's something this serious, I mean, come on, really?
Mm. Mm.
He, she's just gone, Kelvin. You just got to move on,
Yeah,
Kelvin.
she's gone, Calvin.
Like, really? I mean, it just seems like there's got to be a better story than
Listen,
that.
listen. It's the exact same fucking scene when Kevin rides up on his horse in the last episode and to Lori, and he's like, "Did Nora find what she was looking for?" I mean, how general and ambiguous is that? He doesn't know what it means when Lori says yes. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but that was before he was trying to find her obsessively. You know,
Yeah, but my
he
point my
he
point
was
is the
ready to go through
way.
with his crazy thing, and he hadn't come to the realization yet that he fucked up. And
My only point is just the way characters talk to each other on the show. That's what my point is, and that's how they talk to each other.
but
Like,
I think it makes a difference when they're like driven to know something versus like he just wanted like a basic sense that you know
mm-hmm.
that she.
Well, who knows when Matt died? That's the thing. How long, and and
He better have died fast.
when Matt died versus when Kevin started looking for her, sort of a thing. That timeline's a little up in the air.
True. True.
So I think that gives a little bit of cover. Like, it wasn't like Matt was around for 20 years and Kevin kept seeing him and never telling, he never told Kevin where she was and stuff like that.
Right.
But I think just in general, like, that's just, even like, she's gone, Kevin, and then he's like, well, what does that mean? And he's like, that's all I can tell you. She's where she needs to be, or something general, and they would have been like moved past it. I mean, I agree that, like, he should press harder, but I just feel like that's just how dialogue works on this show.
Mm-hmm. If he's gonna spend that long randomly looking at Australia, you would think like solid leads, like the last people who saw her would be like, I don't
Well, that's what he
know.
said. He said he started looking where he lost her, which was Australia. But yeah, I mean, the only lead he has is the city they were in, I guess. But the point is, it's supposed to be romantic, that he was looking for someone he might not ever find. Not that, oh, he knows exactly where she is and he just needs to go find her.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like I think it just seems a bit problematic, like the other characters who knew,
Mm-hmm.
certain answers. And if Matt, I mean, if she didn't go through the machine, see, here's the thing. If she did go through the machine, then Matt doesn't know as much as um as in the other scenario. Because
Mm-hmm.
if she went through the machine, she didn't come back for years, presumably. So like when he says she's gone, it's a little more authentic, in terms of like he doesn't really know what happened to her. He just knows she's like not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in the other case, it's much more of a cover up, in terms of like he knows she's
But
just like
that's the point,
hiding out
right? I
somewhere.
mean, that's what he says. What do you want me to tell people? Whatever you want me to. That's what
Right.
she wanted you to
But
tell
I
people.
guess, yeah, I wish we got the line of what she wanted. You know what I mean? Because it just doesn't.
She wanted him to tell people she was gone, regardless of if she left or not. That's how I take it. What else would she want to communicate to people? Clearly, she did not want to return to her life with those people, regardless if the machine worked or not, or if she went through the machine or not. So I think that's the only message he could, in either scenario, whether she goes to the machine and she's like, "Hey, tell people I left," because I mean, the other thing is, one scenario is she's gonna go through the machine and it's gonna work, but she tells Matt to tell people that she's still alive in Australia or something. Like, that could have been a thing that happened. If she wanted to hide the fact she went through the machine, or she's gonna go through the machine and it's gonna work, but she tells Matt to tell people that she went through the machine and she's gone. Or the third scenario is she's gonna go through the machine and it's gonna work, but she tells Matt to tell people she just died, not in relation to the machine.
Right.
But I think, I mean, it's confusing, but I think the whole point is Nora wanted out of her old life, and that whether she goes to the machine or not, that's what Matt's going to communicate, is that she's gone, she's unreachable, she doesn't want Kevin to come find her, she doesn't want to reunite with him, and if Matt tells him anything other than she's dead, then he is certainly going to go look for her, and it's really just to his own romantic credit that he decides to not believe Matt.
I get that that's the point. I just can't get off the idea that if he's vague, it's like, why are you being so vague? If he says she died, how does she die? What happened? Can you know what I mean? Surely he would want to know that.
Mm-hmm.
you know like where did she die, what, you know what I mean, go there, find her, where is she
Mm-hmm.
buried, what happened to, you know what I mean, like there's got to be a story there, you know what I mean. It seems like if he's that committed as they want us to believe, like he's not just going to be satisfied with, you know what I mean, with
Well, he's
she's
committed to
gone.
finding her himself. He's not committed to making Matt tell him the truth.
But I mean, shouldn't that? I don't know. Shouldn't that factor in? I mean, isn't that like a solid bit of information? Isn't that better to start there
Or
than to
maybe
just
Matt says he
randomly?
wasn't there. Maybe Matt says he doesn't know what happened to her. She's gone. She was one place. I came back and she wasn't there anymore. Like, it's
Yeah,
there's a lot of ways it could go to where it makes sense. But I think that just the general point is that he was supposed to communicate that she was gone.
yeah.
And
It's just
unreachable.
comparing that to like the scuba diving scenario, where like the whole point of the scuba diving scenario is like, here's a story you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
She went scuba diving, and she could kill herself, but
That's the
something went. She
difference.
can say they can say something went wrong,
That's the difference.
and
Yep. The
you know what I
difference with
mean?
Nora is and I think that's why it's called the Book of Nora, is that it's her time to tell the version of events she wants to be true, whether or not they're true. And I think that's a good point. It's a counterpoint to Laurie's version of like trying to get out of life, where there would be a story like the scuba diving, the guy who owns the boat would know what happened to her. Well, she went down there and the body floated up, and we autopsy shows this and that. Like that would have been more concrete. And I think, yeah, like I said, I think that's why this is called the Book of Nora. The idea of sort of her creating her history or her version of events,
Right,
and
right,
it's up for however she wants to say it is.
right.
Um, Calls into question if the whole episode is fake.
Oh God. Oh God. Go down that road.
Yeah.
Like it's like yeah. It's like yeah.
It's like, yeah, you can imagine at the very end of the episode, like they cut to Nora and she's writing a book. Like
Right.
Kevin's not even there, talking to her at the end, this is the ending she wanted her story to have.
Right.
I mean, I guess they're not really making us think that, I don't think, but you could think that, like, she dies in the machine and all that stuff later
Kind of a
is
death
her
dream
her
thing.
afterlife death dream stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you could totally take it that way. I guess the only thing that sort of seems to suggest that's not true is the Lori
Well, I
call.
was gonna
Not that
say
that
Lori died in real life, and this is the fake
Oh
Lori.
shit. Oh
This
shit.
is this
Because
is the.
that did seem like really notable about the episode, that it's very insulated. It takes place
Mm-hmm.
in this very small area, and we don't see any characters from the show, except for Nora, Kevin, and briefly Lori.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I mean,
I'm
I guess
starting to
that
think she
is.
died. I didn't think that before. Now I'm like, God, maybe that's a better version of the story, because I did think the machine just killed you.
That's an interesting
Um,
theory. Yeah, yeah.
but
I think that works better for me than the other
and then
story.
it makes this like Kevin's hotel world, where
Mm-hmm.
she dies and she has this
That's
and
her.
it connects it back to Lost, this
Yeah.
sort of thing that happens after you die.
Slash sideways thing.
You get a
Yeah.
chance to like recreate reality with your loved ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's something, in terms of if this was Nora's fantasy, the idea of Kevin searching for her for 20 years, I feel like that's a Nora
Right.
fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, I didn't really think about that possibility at all.
Me either. It just came to me and I'm like,
Because
damn it.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say I do find that more plausible. I find that more plausible than either story that seems to be like the obvious explanation.
So she goes to the machine and it works and she comes back, or
Yeah.
she doesn't go to the machine at all and she lies and says
Hides
she
out the whole
did.
time.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
find it more plausible that she goes to the machine and she just dies and has
Yeah.
this death dream.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just, I mean, all those problems go away.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have to worry about what Matt said, or I don't have to worry about why Dr. Von Egan didn't do shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it all, it all kind of makes sense.
Yeah, there was something too. I'm trying to figure out thematically, like, why is the nun another character on the show that she talks to in this time period? Like, and it's a nun who seemingly is not celibate. Like they're kind of making that point that some man was in her room.
Oh yeah, she was. Yeah, yeah. That's like a weird scandal in the middle of the
Yeah, which I'm like,
episode.
is this nun? So if this was a death dream, like, does the nun represent something in relationship to Nora? I can't really think
Right.
about what that is, but I feel like there's some kind of metaphor there. A woman who, eschews relationship with men for her faith, yet Nora catches her cheating on that. I don't know. There's something there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, that's interesting.
Another older woman who's like celibate, like Nora seems to be, or not really seeking love, I should say.
Right.
Yet you find this nun secretly, wanting that.
Right.
And sort of being a hypocrite about it. And so maybe that's Nora's thing is she does, she's telling herself she's fine and happy without Kevin, but she really isn't.
Yeah. 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 I definitely think that makes sense.
Yeah, something, and then we get the wedding, and we
Of
get this like,
course.
that's another thematic point here. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna continue thinking about whether or not Nora actually died as we continue the going through the scenes
Okay.
here, because
Sounds good.
it's I don't know why I didn't think that was a possibility before, even though I thought that's what happens in the machine is you just get irradiated and die.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I guess another feature of that is that it provides an answer about what happens with the machine,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's the more disappointing one.
Yeah.
Like with the other story, like we'd never know what happens.
Yeah, it's still ambiguous about what the machine does. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, okay, so you want to head back into this?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the next thing is this long sequence of Nora, naked, getting in the thing, going through the process that was described earlier, getting in the chamber, all that stuff. What we just talked about, and she's maybe about to call out to stop, or maybe not, or maybe be both, or maybe she's about to die.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is Nora's death scene right here.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the birds, the famous white birds from earlier in the season,
Mm-hmm.
episode 1 specifically. And we see them. We see that whole bird sequence again. Basically, they kind of catch us up to that place. Catch up is not the right word, but we sort of rejoin that story, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually the thing this reminds me of is that thing from season 4, where like at the end of season 3, it was, we have to go back, Kate, we have to go back. And then at the end of season 4, Kate like slams on the brakes, backs up, and says, "What do you mean we have to go back?"
Yeah, it's great.
That's what this reminds me of. It's sort of like, you ever heard anyone, Kevin? Does that mean anything to you? No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there was this guy named Kevin here.
Yeah,
and
here's the rest of that. It's similar to the thing on Twin Peaks, which I won't spoil, but that thing in the last episode with the box, that's the same kind of thing I was thinking, where here's part 2 of that scene,
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
But this whole bird thing makes me think of that song "On the Wings of Love," and I'll just read a little bit of the lyrics. "On the wings of love, up and above the clouds, the only way to fly is on the wings of love." It makes me think of this whole bird flying through the clouds
Definitely.
thing.
We're on the wings of love.
Is it the bird?
Yeah, that's the bird.
Why is the bird evil?
That's how birds talk.
Okay.
Are you not familiar with that? They're very selfish, birds.
But anyway,
they believe in birding and nothing else.
Yeah. And then we get another classic Lindelof type leftovers type beat later when the birds don't come when they're supposed to come, which I don't
Oh,
know.
right.
Like that's supposed to be a big deal, and I don't know why. I don't know. They're just late, and this is just the one time they're late.
Yeah, the birds were late.
What's the
Who
big
knows?
deal? The birds were late.
Yeah, I apparently it's a terrifying possibility to
Mm-hmm.
think about. God, what happened to the birds?
Yeah, like pterodactyls ate all the birds or something. Like, what do you think happened to them?
Yeah, do they have pterodactyls in the world where the departed went? Maybe they do.
Maybe they do. They have 2% of the pterodactyls there.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
That's a lot of pterodactyls.
Right? That's more than zero.
I don't want to deal with 2% of the pterodactyls. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyway, just to finish, we keep going, and the nun says that a man came by with a photo of her. She's going by the name Sarah at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and that man was, of course, named Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
There's our answer. The nun didn't tell him anything, but she suspected he knew she was lying. Um, and then so that's the end of this. So it's basically, we pick up um we pick up with the flash forward. Basically the flash forward was the start of this future story, or this afterlife story, if you want to take it that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um Afterlife kind of fantasy, purgatory-ish. It would be if Nora died, then it just is the Flash sideways.
Yeah. Yeah. It
like
just is.
like this, it's not even like the Flash sideways. It's they're like literally in the Flash sideways.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the same place. Like if they went to LA, they would
But the
probably
difference is the Flash Sideways like sort of reset with them not going to the island. That was that reality, right? Versus
right.
Nora here, her past is still the same.
She did remember, right? I guess they did a fake reset, but not a
Yeah,
real reset. So it's sort of like they have their
but
memories,
Kevin's
but then they
doing that,
decide to
right?
pretend.
But
Kevin does
Kevin's
that.
doing the
Yeah,
pretending like it didn't happen,
yeah,
and you're supposed to wonder like why, like, and it doesn't really make a this is she's in the Earth 2 world.
yeah.
But there's a Kevin there, but they just never had a relationship. But then it begs the question: is that there's another Nora there too? Then right? Like, wouldn't there have to be a second Nora in this place for Kevin to have remembered her from Mapleton?
Right, 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 right.
So that'd be weird if there's two Noras now.
Yikes, yikes, yikes.
Yeah, they don't want that.
No, no, that's getting too crazy. So she bikes home, and she starts packing a bag, and she's got all that pigeon money. She's gonna like take that pigeon money and
Fly away, fly the coop.
fly the coop. Exactly. Because yeah, that's good. That's a good way to, if you ever find yourself living in rural Australia,
Mm-hmm.
a good way to make money. The bird answer is kind of like the Kevin answer. It's like it's very straightforward. Like this is just like a thing they do for weddings.
Yep.
Like they it's just like a party trick. Like you write your love
Mm-hmm.
message, and then the birds fly away with the message of love, and then she throws it away later.
Yeah, it's just
When
a
they come
pile of
back.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like nobody reads them. Nobody cares.
It's like we kind of theorized though about the similarity between the messages from the Pearl Station from Lost.
Yeah,
It's kind of the same thing where these
it
messages just go
is.
nowhere for no one to
Yeah.
read.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And yet the people writing them presumably put some importance on them, at
Mm-hmm.
least sometimes. Um, so yeah, she's gonna take the pigeon money and go, and but before she gets a chance to leave, there's a knock at the door. Oh shit, it's Kevin. He's older,
Yeah.
and he's claiming that they only met a couple times back in Mapleton, like at the school dance, and they do a little flashback there. He claims he recognized her when she pedaled by. He's just on vacation there.
Mm-hmm.
And he always wished he asked her to dance all those years ago.
It's so
Um,
weird. It's such a weird scene.
so he's there to invite her to the dance in town. Um, and uh, of course, yeah, she knows that, because of what the nun said, that he's he's clearly lying to some extent.
Yeah.
Um, and so she sends him away, but
Which
he
is a weird
says,
setup, though, right? Because it seems like they muddied, or whatever. Is that the
both.
same word?
I think
um,
it's the same idea, more or less. Yeah.
the setup here, right? Because we know that this is, like, if this was supposed to be Earth 2, we know that this is Earth 1 Nora. We know that she doesn't have these memories that this Kevin is purporting to have, right? So, like, that's fair,
Wait, how do we
right?
know this is Earth One, Nora? Oh, wait, I almost had it.
Well, who else would it be? Why would it be Earth 2 Nora? Earth 1 Nora is the one who went through the machine.
Right, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
you're right.
If it's Earth
Sorry,
2 Nora, then we've never met her before.
yeah, this is the first time we're seeing her, and that's really weird. That would be like a bizarre
um,
way to end the TV show. And here's another Nora we've never seen
oh
before.
man, that's great. Um, yeah, but it's weird that they made it clear to us that Kevin's lying from the
Yeah.
beginning, so that we didn't really get to. I mean, it becomes a question of why is he lying, or why does he have these fake memories, or whatever, or he's misremembering or something in the past. But they start this with Nora knowing that he's lying about how he found her.
Yeah,
So
so would
I
it be
found that
better
strange.
if they did it the other way around? Like he comes to her door
Mm-hmm.
first.
Mm-hmm.
They have this weird scene, and then she finds out from the nun that he was looking for her.
Yeah, yeah, that he was lying. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were committed to that scene from the flash forward, but they didn't have to have it first.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And so,
or yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that's the only. Because what they could have done, they could have made both things be true in a way. They could have said Kevin came to the church to ask about Nora, so he asked the nun about Nora, and she doesn't say anything, and he leaves. And as he's leaving, he sees her bike away. Like, they could have had both things be true.
right, 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 right.
But it seems like he just made up the bike thing. Like, he just
Yeah,
made that up, even though she's on a bike all this time.
right. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, right?
Uh, I mean, he had a picture, right? I mean, I think that's the thing that makes it seem like he's got to be lying.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he just saw her there, like, oh, it's Nora from Mapleton, like he
Well,
wouldn't have
but it
had a
still would have
photo.
been true. No, but it still could have been true that he had a picture, he was looking for her, he goes to the nun, but the nun doesn't tell him anything. And then he sees her riding her bike home. He could have followed her home. And then when she says, "How did you find me?" He says, "I saw you riding your bike." That would have been true.
That part, but not this other stuff.
But he doesn't, I mean, it's still, he's not lying if he omits that he asked the nun about the picture. It's still true that he found her by seeing her ride her bike home. Like, that's still true.
Yeah, but the
He
other stuff,
what
you
other
know.
stuff?
Well, that like I only knew you a couple times in
Oh,
Mapleton,
that
and
stuff. Yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
only
But
I
what I'm
only
saying
met
is
you.
like, what I'm saying is like, that stuff is for sure a lie. But I mean, she doesn't know why he's saying that, right? And I guess I'm talking from the audience perspective. Like they set up this scene by telling us, by having us know Kevin's lying, right? Which I guess we're supposed to just think he's lying about not remembering all the Mapleton stuff or Najardin stuff. Um, but it seems like what they want is for us to think for a while that she's in the Earth too, and that this is a different Kevin and they
Right.
have a different history. Yet they start that with us knowing he's lying about how he found her. So I just find that weird that they didn't like do it the other way, like you said. Like, he comes to her door first and he says, "Oh, I saw you riding your bike." She doesn't know that's not true. We don't
Right.
know that's not true. And then he says, I don't know if you remember me and all that stuff. We don't know each other that well. We would have known that that's not true, but we would have still been thinking this is a different Kevin, a different Earth or something.
Right. Right.
Minor point. It is a minor point on
I see what you're saying.
how they kind of setting this up.
I see what you're saying. That makes sense. Yeah, I think I don't know. Yeah.
But Kevin has to do this weird double lying thing when because because they have the scenes in this order. Nora knows that he showed the picture to the nun, so she can call him out on it. But then he says, "Why would I have a picture of you?" Because he's got he's still sticking to the thing that they don't know each other that well.
Right.
It's just very strange.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, I agree. It's yeah, it's almost like they didn't want the audience to like have a chance to really buy into this. It's almost like we know it's artificial from the start.
It's like we know it's artificial, but we don't know what's going on.
And the question is just why is he doing it? Not is this is this genuine on some level? Like, have we hit the reset button? Did he forget? Like, is this some other world? Is it a different Kevin? All those possibilities. It seems like it kind of rules those out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you ready to continue?
Uh-huh.
There. Okay. So he says he'll be there if she changes her mind. Yeah, in case there's any doubt.
Oh, I'm sorry. Left. Maybe that did kind of happen. I'm a little confused now. I'm reading the lines. Did the nun say she didn't tell Kevin anything?
Yeah.
Okay, but then Kevin says later, well, Nora says, you showed a picture of me to the nun of the convent. That's how you found out where I lived. But if the nun didn't tell him anything, then that's not how he found out where she lived. Then maybe he did see her riding the bike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now that's confusing.
Maybe it's true.
So maybe they are trying to make the bike thing. Maybe they are trying to make the bike thing to be true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tracked her down.
Why is that so difficult to track?
It's such a simple point. I don't know why it's even such a controversy. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would think it would be a concrete thing. It's not complicated. Like, how did he find her place? Was the nun lying?
Maybe she lied and was like and told Kevin where she was. Yeah.
I mean, potentially.
Wow.
Do we get a reveal about that?
Yeah, maybe later when they're talking, Kevin says something more truthful.
Yeah. Okay. So you ready to go on?
Here it goes. A couple days ago, I showed your pictures of the nun. I saw it in her eyes. She recognized you. She knew you. And when I saw you, I couldn't believe it. There you were. So I don't know.
Oh, he really did see her.
Yeah, I guess he did see her. But
so I guess he saw her on the bike. I don't know.
Yeah. That makes sense because he says they didn't know where to start or what to say.
That part's
like,
true.
Oh, fuck it. I'll erase it. Yeah.
Like he knew the nun knew her, but she didn't tell him. So he knew Nora was there. So I guess
he just started looking around and
on
he saw
the
her on the bike.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that only took an hour to figure out.
Yeah, that's not the biggest question in this episode, but damn, it's like the hardest one. For no reason.
For no reason.
Like why? All right, so are you ready?
Ready this time.
Okay, so in case there was any doubt left, Nora goes to call Lori. That's right. Lori's still alive. Or not, as it were.
She's only here because she's dead.
Yeah, so, there's always room for that. So Lori promises. I guess Nora's thought is like, oh, well, Lori must have told him because because Lori's the only one left who knows where I am. Well, I guess Matt didn't even know necessarily where she went, even if he knew that, that she was going to run away or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Because she wasn't staying in contact with Matt at that point. I think that's clear. So anyway, she didn't tell anyone where Kevin was. Um, but I guess she thinks Nora wants like permission to go to the dance, and Nora insists that's not true, but maybe it is. Um, uh, and yeah, so I guess that's the end of this bit here. The whole thing
Yeah,
about
okay.
does she want to go to the dance or
not? Did you think that was going to be a question in the finale?
No.
Will
At the
Nora
end
go
of
to
the
the
show.
dance?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Like, imagine getting a list of those. Like, yeah, does Nora want to go to the dance?
I thought when Nora was telling Lori that Kevin came back and he acted like they were never together, like it didn't happen. I thought it was going to be okay. Kevin's having another psychotic break.
Right.
And like that was gonna be where the story's going. But then Lori says, does he seem crazy? She says, no, he seems happy. But then why is he making up I feel like Lori would be, well, maybe not this version of Lori who's like probably past all this stuff now, but like that's very disconcerting, I think, that Kevin would just pretend the past didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like 20 years later, he's just gonna act like you. And what's Nora supposed to think? Like
Right.
she remembers it happened. Now you're making her feel crazy.
Right.
It's not a very good way to flirt.
True. True. Yeah. I mean, I guess he explains it at the end. I mean, he gives his explanation, which you can take for what it's worth.
Yeah, you called me because you want to know if it's okay to go to the dance. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. That's a weird thing. And again, this is why I feel like Nora's not over her issues. I mean, her first instinct when Kevin comes back is to run away. Um, yeah, it's so, I mean, and I guess maybe that's the idea, is that she reconciled her, I mean, I guess maybe that's what you said before, like she reconciled her kids and the departure related issues, but she never reconciled her thing with Kevin. So when he comes back, it's still a big deal because she never dealt with it.
Right.
But it's like, why are they even together? Why does it even matter? They weren't a very good couple to begin with.
Because that's what this whole show's about.
But,
what do you mean? Why does it matter?
Like, why?
I don't know why. That's
like,
just,
why should they be?
Why
should they be together?
They're destined to be together. I have no idea.
Like, yeah, I mean,
yeah, they were thrown together by a series of strange circumstances, and their paths entwined, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
why does Kevin even want her back?
Wife left him to join the guilty remnant, and her whole family departed, and so they
were broken people.
Each other.
It's like Fight Club. You met me at a very strange time in my life, or whatever that is.
Yeah,
but
except it's for both of them in a way.
It's for both of them in a way. But like, I don't understand why that means they should be together. What? They didn't help each other. They just made each other worse. And then they broke up at the height of them being horrible to each other.
Mm-hmm.
When she comes, if she went to the machine or not, whenever she's done with her journey, like, she doesn't try to find him ever again. I don't know. It just seems like they're not Romeo and Juliet. What
about all the good times?
Like when?
Are you forgetting about all the good times?
Yeah. When were those?
Maybe in those 3 years we didn't see.
The 3 years that led to their breakup?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was good until, maybe it was good until the book thing and then the machine thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, that's
So
clearly
until
not true,
I
but
was gonna say it's good until they had a way out of their relationship.
yeah, and Kevin's doing the bag thing and she's getting tattoos and Wu-Tang
Mm-hmm.
and like breaking
Mm-hmm.
her arm and yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're totally fucked up at the beginning. So
I find it really strange. I'm a little confused. I understand there's the romance here or whatever, but it just seems like maybe they're better off without each other.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and it's just like, but yeah, we feel like
They
they should
can't
be
just
together
leave each other
because
alone, or at least Kevin
they're,
can't.
yeah, she can. She would have been fine.
It looks like she got away. She got away. Although now she does want to go to the dance. She's getting
Mm-hmm.
pulled back in.
Yeah, she wants to go to the dance, but she leaves.
Well, she leaves eventually. That's true.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
valid point. Definitely. Um. So shall we continue? I guess
Yeah.
as we deepen the mystery of why these two like star-crossed lovers are destined to be together. Surely the answer's in here somewhere.
It's in here somewhere.
Okay, so Laura, oh God, I keep doing this. Not Laura. Um, I
Nora?
having Nora and Lori is like a
Yeah.
brain twister for me.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, then Twin Peaks comes and now Laura's in my brain and anyway, Nora takes a bath, and then gets stuck in the bathroom, and then she beats down the door. Um,
Can we talk about that?
Sure,
Why?
because she was mad that the door was locked.
No, why did the door lock on her? What's the whole
Oh,
point of this scene here?
because
Like
dreams. I have no
she's
idea.
gotta like work to go to the dance. Like she like life is trying to stop her and she's gotta somehow like work to get out of it or
Maybe.
to show her. I mean, maybe this is her being an active character or something versus being passive or I don't know what. But I found it strange that the first time ever, the door locks on her and she's but it wasn't any, it wasn't anything more than that. She was able to get out,
Yeah.
but she had to
Yeah.
like fight, fight to get to the dance in a way.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That
Maybe
shows that
that's
she
the
wants
idea.
it,
She's really,
maybe.
she's really, yeah, committed to going. She's not gonna.
Or maybe she gets committed because has a hurdle. I feel
After
like
all that
that's
trouble, like
yeah,
I
like
better. This
that's
dance better
Nora's
be awesome.
yeah, that's like Nora's character is like she like doubles down on things she can't have or whatever.
Right. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I found the door thing, her being trapped or she felt trapped or she didn't want to
Right.
be trapped.
Yeah. 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 Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. She's been trapped all this time,
This is
and
the
now
final trap.
she wants to break free
Mm-hmm.
and you know go be a lovebird.
That's what she wants. She wants to be a lovebird so she can fly away and then deliver a message back to herself that she throws away.
A fake lovebird, not a real one.
Mm-hmm.
Fake lovebirds do the real thing.
Like maybe that's what happened. She goes to the machine and the machine turns her into that bird.
There you go.
That's why they cut to the bird flying because that was Nora.
That was Nora the bird.
Mm-hmm. Prove it's not true.
I wouldn't dare.
Oh, jeez. All right, what do you got?
Okay, so she gets to the dance, and it's not a dance; it's a wedding. Was Kevin invited? Yeah, we met at the hotel bar, and they insisted that I come. So, okay. Nora presses Kevin to reveal how he found her. He continues to insist that visiting his dad, he just in jail. He happened to see her riding by. So he didn't remember getting their divorces on the same day. Her inviting him to go to Miami, that whole thing. You must have confused me with someone else, he said.
Yeah, like, are we supposed to think, like, in
Because
any
he would have
way...
gone to Miami.
Are we supposed to maybe think that this is, like, the other Kevin or something? Like, in the previous episode, when there were two Kevins, like, and, you know, he goes in as the assassin Kevin, but he comes out the president Kevin.
Ooh,
And so
second Kevin.
this is like second Kevin.
Yikes. Right, yikes. It's the other Kevin.
Oh, Calvin, there's two of you now. That would have been interesting. They didn't really make that a plausibility, but
no.
Is that a plausibility? Is that a thing? Can plausibility be a noun?
I feel like it should be that way. Like, it works in French, let's say.
This is a big plausibility.
It should work. It should work. Like possibility, you know, possibility can be a noun.
Oh, a possibility, but is a possibility like a plausible thing?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, unnecessarily.
It's just possible.
Yeah, it looks like it's just a non-plausibility could be a noun. Yeah, plausibility can be a noun. There it is. Okay.
There it is.
Look that up.
Yeah. Yeah, it should work.
Good.
I'll just point out from doing my recent rewatch, I guess you remember it too, like, he really couldn't go to Miami at that time, at least, you know, without abandoning his responsibilities. Now, I guess, like, you know, current Kevin, which by current Kevin, I mean Kevin 20 years ago at this point, did abandon his responsibilities in Jordan. Like, they went through, like, the whole, like, departure day without him.
Yeah.
And I guess it was fine.
Tommy didn't say anything about it when he was talking to Lori on the phone.
No, he didn't seem like there were any problems.
Hey, where's Dad at? He's been missing, and we need him for all the crazy stuff that's happening here.
Yeah. They were just like, oh, we heard Nora was in Australia or something. What's that about?
And I guess we're supposed to believe nothing, you know, a second departure didn't happen on the 7th anniversary.
No.
The flood didn't happen.
No.
Just nothing. Nothing happened.
Nothing. It's just the beginning of the season again. You know, the people on the roof, you know, we're all waiting, and then nothing happens.
Yep, and then our family leaves us. Yeah.
There it is.
That is it, right? Because that's how Nora is. Like the colonial lady, who I don't remember if I mentioned on the podcast, but that was supposed to take place in Australia, that whole thing where they go up on the roof and stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
But like, that's kind of how Nora is, right? After her family leaves her and she's ostracized by her community, she just goes to the church and lays down and dies. And it's like, that's what Nora is basically doing here. She's just going by herself to just wither away.
And she's involved with the church.
Although in a tangential way.
Tangential way. She's not sleeping there. She's not necessarily believing anything, but she's kind of working for them.
Yeah.
In a certain sense.
Yeah. She's trying to get all that bird money.
Gotta get that bird money.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, kids. You know, if they say the job market isn't what it used to be, you should consider moving to the Australian countryside.
Don't beak-leave them. Don't beak-leave anything they say.
Build your nest in the outback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your financial nest. It's an exciting adventure. God. Oh, puns are the best.
They are. Um, yeah, he had his hands full, you know. He was like chief of police, and like there were all
Mm-hmm.
these problems going on with the guilty remnant, and God knows what else. And he had family problems. Jill was getting into trouble, and his dad
Mm-hmm.
was crazy, and it's just like, go to
But
Miami,
none
like,
of that happened. That didn't happen.
right? I forgot. None of that
Don't
happened.
forget, it didn't happen. So next, this little part next where they're talking and they say like he talks about Matt's funeral and over 400 people came.
Yeah.
Who? Who?
Huh?
How? How?
Jardonians. I mean, he was preaching to like a crowd that was like so packed that they were like outside the church listening to loudspeakers. He had a following. He had a
But I
following.
didn't think he was the main preacher.
Yeah, he was the main preacher, wasn't he?
No.
I thought they were saying he became the main preacher
Oh,
there.
maybe that's what happened.
I thought.
I'm forgetting that part. I don't
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
what
yeah.
happened.
He wasn't in season 2. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Oh, at
I
the
thought that's
beginning when he's talking. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. I
I
think
don't
he's the main one
know.
by that point. I mean, we never.
I don't
I mean, I
know.
don't think Michael's doing it.
Hmm.
And there was another guy there, but I don't know. I guess he left. Maybe there were some lines about that. I don't remember. But
Yeah.
it seemed to me like he was the only one. He's the only one they ever showed like involved. It wasn't John either. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um, I mean, So yeah, yeah. I mean, he had followers. I agree that is a large number, though. I mean, I take your larger point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess the weird thing about it is they had to travel to Mapleton,
Yeah.
and that is like if it was in Jarden, I would find it a little more plausible.
Or maybe
You
Kevin's
know?
lying and it was in Jarden or something,
Oh
or
yeah, it
they
could have
had
been.
one. They had one in Jarden too,
Yeah,
or maybe
yeah.
they had two services and he's combining the numbers.
Right, right, right.
But yeah, it seems like it should be in Mapleton since that's where he went back to.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I guess people could, fly up or whatever, but it is a lot, 400. I mean, I mean, especially because, well, who knows? I mean, maybe he acquired a following in Mapleton again, but like, it was a big thing in season 1 that like his congregation was dwindling down to nothing, and he was just desperate to like have someone show up and get him to do a baptism, like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's true.
thank you for giving me something to do,
Mm-hmm.
like feeling sort of like worthless, like no one needed him to do his thing. So yeah, anyway, that's a good point. I didn't think about it at all, and it's yeah, it's strange. Yeah, so basically, this is sort of if then kind of time. Well, if you were in Mapleton, then you must know Matt. Okay, sure. Um, uh, he, he was hoping that Nora would come to, no, Kevin was hoping that Nora would come to her brother's funeral, which is very valid.
Mm-hmm.
But she did not. It certainly sold the story,
She
theoretically.
didn't want any, and even Lori said that like that was their deal. Lori doesn't
Yeah,
tell her anything about the people there, and vice versa,
right.
and like she just didn't want anything to do with that past life, which
Yeah,
suggests to me she didn't go through the machine.
interesting. So Mary did the eulogy when Matt died, presumably from the cancer. So this is like the Matt death that I was expecting. It occurs off screen.
Yeah.
And it's 20 years later, but still,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna count it just because, like, by the end of this show, he's the only, um, you know, main character, at least from this season, that died.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'll like to half count that
In terms of what?
in terms of like saying I thought he would die
Oh, I
in
see.
this episode. Like, I think it sort of counts.
Yeah, it
It
counts.
also sort of doesn't count, but I'll take it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Jill got married, had a baby. Tommy had a marriage, I guess, that didn't work out. But he's cool, I guess. It's a pretty quick, like, here's what we get for
Yeah. All
characters.
these main characters. Here's a couple of lines about them.
This is all they're gonna get, really.
Yeah.
Um, Kevin didn't remarry because I'm still holding a candle for you. That would be
Mm-hmm.
Nora, of course. Me, the woman you met 2 times? Are you sure? What's wrong with you, sir?
Yeah, right. 2 times, and you just started. You just thought I was the one for you, and you
I
never
mean,
changed your
damn.
mind. I know I was looking good those 2 days, but
Yeah,
dang.
but yeah, like, was it that good? Um, let's see. He points out that after his mom's death, his dad never remarried. People hold candles. Yeah, they were married. They were fucking married. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
different, Kevin. It's a little different. You're saying you saw her a couple times. It's a little different. Um, he mentions that Kevin Sr. is still alive. Um, Nora mentions that he must be immortal, like his son. Uh, but no, Kevin's mortal. He had a heart attack, so he must be mortal because he has a
Mm-hmm.
pacemaker, so he's mortal. Um, then the bride comes by their table to collect the love messages, and they're supposed to spread those around.
Oh! I want to talk about this heart condition. Did we talk about this
Sure,
before?
go for it.
Is this a thing that we've heard before? This heart condition thing?
I don't think so.
Because I feel like that was part of my theorizing before that like Kevin had some kind of condition that that allowed him to sort of die and but not really die, drown but not really die completely. And I feel like this is a little bit of a hint of the explanation, presumably, of why he was able to sort of die or get or drown but not really die. If he
Right,
had some strange heart condition that that was allowing this thing to happen.
right.
So I thought that was interesting. They threw that in there.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. It definitely could be that. You know, it's supposed to in part confirm that he's not really immortal, at least not like finally. But yeah, it'd be interesting if the confirmation that he's not
Mm-hmm.
immortal as a kind of explanation for why he seems to be immortal.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, he was only really. I mean, Matt only thought he was immortal in Jarden to begin with,
Yeah,
not like
true.
everywhere, or that you couldn't shoot him in the head and he would
But
die.
Matt didn't know what he was talking about. He was just
Well, Matt
shit.
seemed to have recanted all of his beliefs
Yeah, exactly.
by the end.
Exactly. But Kevin seemed to have done a pretty plausible resurrection in Australia. So, you know.
What are you saying? That Matt should have believed that?
Well, I don't think Matt even ever knew about it.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying, like, it seemed like Kevin's powers, whatever they were, still functioned in Australia.
Oh, for sure,
Like,
for
he didn't
sure.
necessarily have to be in Jarden.
Mm-hmm.
The Jarden thing was just not important at
No,
all this
no.
season. They were done with Jarden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that whole thing of, like, blowing up. Oh, and in the interview, Damon Lindelof did mention, like, the idea that they basically blew up the Guilty Remnant. Like that is what that scene was supposed to be. Because as we now reach the end of the series, we can see that the Guilty Remnant did not make an appearance in the story again. We didn't
Yeah.
find out that the Death Cult was the Guilty Remnant or anything like that.
So
Uh,
wait, so what's supposed to be him blowing up the guilty remnant?
oh, the beginning of the season, when the bomb hits the
Oh,
visitor center in Jordan
that
and
was supposed to be all of
Evie
them.
and yeah, I mean it's like he just put that as like killing the blowing
The
up the Guilty
story
Remnant.
of the guilty remnants down
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
exactly. Which, like, that's kind of what I thought was going on, but you never know. Um, uh, let's see.
I wanted to
Uh,
see Kevin's scar, his pacemaker scar, because I kind of didn't believe him.
oh, he didn't show the scar.
I don't think he showed the scar.
Oh, interestingly, it seems like that also ties in with what happened to him in the hotel world. Like the surgery, to like reach in and get that
Yes,
thing,
that's a good
like
point.
that
Yeah.
that he's got a scar there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
that would have been
around that
cool if he
area.
had the same like a scar in that same area. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. That could have like tied in a weird way with this. I don't think they really connected those dots, but it seems like there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Kevin won't tell Nora what he's putting on his love message because that's for him to know and some lonely Eskimo to find out. Um, because like what? Like the pigeons are flying to Alaska? Like
That's how pigeons work.
I don't quite understand. Do they migrate that much? I mean,
No, I mean that's the idea behind the lovebirds is they're supposed to fly and bring messages of love all over the world, and that's the whole ruse, right? Is the birds are actually
oh,
trained to fly back to Nora's place, but the people at the wedding think, oh, these birds are going to go out and send messages of love all around the world. That's the
I
party
see.
trick.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I knew they were supposed to like fly around, but I guess I didn't necessarily know they were supposed to fly like
No.
really fly around. Like,
Yeah, I mean they're
woo,
told that they
that's
fly
a
all
long
around
way
the
away from
world, but
Australia.
clearly, as Nora says, those birds are trained to do one thing, which is fly back home.
Right. Though sometimes they're late. She needs to have a
Sometimes they
talking to with those
sometimes they
birds.
stop and hang out with their friends first,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it was traffic.
Could have been. Could have been. That's good. Good theory. Uh,
It's like
so,
on Twin. It's like on Twin Peaks. It's like how long does it take you to get home normally?
oh God. Oh God. That's so weird. I still don't understand that thing. We'll talk about that on Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
Um, I'm still, it's like episode 5, part 5, sorry, and I still don't get it. Anyway,
I do.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So next, the guest put some beads on the neck of a goat, and the goat is like a scapegoat, and the necks are like the necks. God, I keep saying necks. The beads are like sins, I guess, and so they're gonna like cast out the goat with their sins. That's the
I
idea.
cast you out, goat.
Yeah, that's literally a quote from the
Yeah,
Bible.
yeah.
Um, finally, uh,
So let's talk about the scapegoat real quick.
oh, okay, sure.
So there was like a second thing. Oh yeah, lovebirds, a scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
The goat escapes. It's a scapegoat.
Right.
Was there a third thing like that? Some weird uh, I don't even. What do you even call that? What is that?
Literal figurative thing.
Yes, that's what it's called. Literal figuration or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Figurative
don't know if there's a better word
literation.
for that, but yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Is there a third one?
is that where scapegoat comes from? From some practice of goats taking upon sins?
Well, yeah, I think
uh,
it's from the Bible. I think that's the origin of that.
okay, what was it in the
I think
Bible?
there's a thing in the Bible
Somebody blames a goat?
where Jesus takes some like demons and like puts them into a goat, um, and then like has the goat like walk off a cliff. Although maybe that happens with a pig, and maybe the goat story was slightly different.
Yeah, this is the goat. This is exactly like they depict on the show. A goat is sent into the wilderness after the Jewish chief priest had symbolically laid the sins of the people upon it.
Oh, okay, it's Old Testament stuff.
Yeah, Leviticus 16.
Leviticus. Okay. The Jesus story, I guess, is with pigs or something, and
But is it called a scapegoat in the Bible?
I think so. Like
Okay.
probably in the King James version or something like that.
Oh, it
I,
translated into.
yeah. I mean, it's certainly not used in the original language, but yeah, I bet like an influential translation came up. That would be my guess. Well, do you really want to know?
Well, there's something about a goat for Azazel here.
Yeah, goat for ooh, interesting. That's a
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna look up the etymology
Apparently the
here.
Hebrew of scapegoat is I'm not going to pronounce it, but the translation is goat
Yeah,
for Azazel.
this says it's coined by Tyndale as a translation of the Hebrew exactly Azazel. So Tyndale was the translator who did the bulk of the translation for the King James version.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's where it came from.
All right.
So yeah, he basically made up that term based on the Hebrew. And I guess you can interpret the parts that make up Azazel as being goat and escapes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That seems to be the concept there. So that, I mean, that's basically the idea, is like the goat, the goat will run off into the wilderness and,
Yeah, what a loophole to get rid of your sins.
Yeah.
Let's put him on
Yeah.
this goat and get that goat out of town.
Yeah. That's it. That's all you got to do.
So this is before, New Testament, and Jesus comes
Yeah, no
and has
Jesus. No
a
Jesus.
better loophole for getting rid of your
Now
sins.
Jesus did put some demons in some animals, and I thought they were goats, but now I'm thinking maybe they're pigs, but maybe they don't even specify. But he totally put some demons in some animals and then drives them off of a cliff. Like, that's a thing. But yeah, it's unrelated apparently.
Yeah, okay.
But it seems similar. But yeah, this is specifically referencing the true scapegoat, which is the old Leviticus. Let's send a goat with our sins, or our beads, as it were.
Yeah, it seems like that's who Jesus is. He's like the biggest scapegoat.
Yeah, exactly, the ultimate scapegoat.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's not surprising they would go for some kind of religious imagery here towards the end, since that's obviously, a big theme in the show.
Yeah, and then we get this. Have you ever seen anybody sacrifice a goat? No, that'd be weird. And it's like, really, Kevin? Really, really, everything that happened that we saw, you're just gonna pretend. Not only pretend like it didn't
happen. That's cool, right?
Isn't that cool? Yeah, I mean, not only pretend it didn't. It like these things didn't happen, but he's giving like commentary on this if it did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that I think that's something that Damon Lindelof likes to do from time to time, sort of comment on his own story within the story.
Yeah.
Like that reminds me of when Nora's reading from the Book of Kevin, like, where does Matt come up with this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like, that's it's a bit of a writer thing, I think, to sort of comment on the story, like, and put it in the mouth of a character.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole time I'm kind of waiting for him to crack. So anyway, finally he asked her to dance, and they dance, and then she pulls away and says she can't do this because it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And she leaves. So yeah, I guess my interpretation is like she couldn't buy into the fantasy, that that those things didn't happen, that they didn't, that they just
that's who she is. I mean, it's the same with her kids. Like, she couldn't pretend like they didn't depart.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So she arrives home. She finds the pigeons didn't return. That's a question there. And then she bikes off to confront the nun. And she finds that there's, as we mentioned earlier, a gentleman caller, as they say, sometimes, sneaking out of her place. The nun insists that she didn't feed the birds anything different or do anything different. So like, I guess she's trying to figure out the mystery of the birds.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe they're off delivering their messages of love. Nora was not buying that.
Not at all.
But she said, "Hey, it's a nicer story, So then Nora heads back home. She rolls over some beads.
That's the thing. It's a nicer story. That's where I was trying to think of that. That's what I think. And I want to bring that up too. At the beginning of the first scene, when Nora is recording her video testimonial, she says she doesn't lie. which I think has to be a thing we think about with, in terms of bookmarking this episode with the ending
Mhm.
where she's telling Kevin this story,
Yeah,
and I think she's
and it's
lying.
100% true. Oh, damn it! I thought I knew
Yeah.
where you were going with that.
No,
What
I
happened?
took a left turn. I went the other way. Isn't there something else like that where they do the same kind of thing where a character says one thing? Oh no, I'm thinking of I'm thinking of in Certified when Nora tells the perfect death, the scuba diving
Mhm.
death, and then like Laura uses that later.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so she rolls over some beads, and I'm just the bird mystery is like, what? I sorry, just for a quick pause. What? Like,
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that. I want to talk about Father Brian too, or whoever the motorcycle guy is.
oh
Like,
God,
it's
he's a priest.
well, no, that's what's weird is they make it strange because Nora asks who's the man, and the nun is like, "Oh, you mean like Father Brian? He's the only man who's
Oh,
permitted."
she's just not acknowledging.
Yeah, then she says, "Does Father Brian ride a motorcycle?" And the nun says, "No."
Right,
So it's like,
right,
well, who's that guy? Is he doesn't seem to be Father Brian.
right. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and it's
He's
weird,
yeah.
like when the guy climbs down from the ladder, he looks back up to the window and does like the Holy Cross or whatever that's called. Where he did what is that called?
Yeah.
Is that what that's called?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, there's a name for that.
Yeah, there's a name for that.
I don't remember.
But you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
gesture of the cross
Crossing
thing.
yourself. Yeah, yeah.
Um, which is a weird thing to do if he just had sex with a nun.
It's a very weird thing to do, but maybe that's why he had to do
Or
it.
maybe that's why he did it, because he just committed a sin or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, so the birds, I mean, I think the bird is just about Nora losing stability. Kevin comes back to her life and upsets things, and the birds are not where, the bird is something very predictable for her.
Right.
And the fact that it became unpredictable, she doesn't like. That's the only thing I can think is of note with the bird stuff.
Right. Well, that makes sense, I guess. Yeah. It's just yeah, it's just I don't know. It's an odd mystery. And of course they return at the end and it's just like, "What?"
Yeah.
Um like, you know, we didn't have anything to do.
Why your birds sound like gangsters?
That's the way birds talk. It's have you ever listened to a bird?
Listen, if there's a bird talking to you that sounds like that, don't.
It's what I hear when I listen to the birds. That's all I can say. Um uh okay, so you ready to continue?
Yeah.
So Nora runs over some beads, and then she discovers that the goat has been stuck to the fence by those sin beads.
Did the beads cause her bike to fall? Did it cause her to like trip with the bike? Is that the idea, or did she hit a pothole?
Uh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Um, like I thought she saw the beads or she rolled over the beads, but that's not necessarily
No, she hit something pretty hard
what
that
she
made
hit.
her. Yeah, I
Yeah,
couldn't have been the beads because she hit something pretty hard.
yeah, yeah,
She
yeah,
goes
yeah,
flying from that bike, which is strange
yeah.
because she's gone down this path how many times?
A lot.
Yeah, and this is the one time she hits the crazy thing that she never hit before.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even if her story's true, she's probably been doing this for, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 15 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you learn that shit after a few days, because that'll fuck up your wheels. Let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
those potholes, they are serious. Um, so she rescues the goat and leads it back to her place. And the goat eats some of the love notes, but she
Mm-hmm.
gives it some real food. Um, and let's see. Then she sits down to read some of the notes. Um, And then Kevin shows up. And I guess he's ready to tell the truth now.
Yeah, I'm looking at this scene where Nora takes the beads and she kind of puts them on her head and she kind of looks up to heaven, and I'm like, does she want to be punished, or she feels like she needs to be take sins, or like something's happening here, so there's something metaphorical or allegorical here with these beads and her taking them from the goat, or
Right.
yeah, I don't know what it is though, but something.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like explicitly symbolic. Uh, but I still don't get it.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Exactly.
They tell us what it is and what it means, but not what it means. Like,
yeah,
is she taking the sins of the town? Is she
right.
taking responsibility for her own sins?
Her own sins.
Like what?
Kevin's, other people's.
Yeah. Like, was she shouldering their burden somehow? Like, I don't really get it.
Right. Yeah, I don't get it either.
But goats will eat anything.
They will. It's true. It's true. I bet that goat was like, those love messages were better.
Better than what?
Better than what she gives the goat.
Oh, better than the food, yeah.
Like vegetables or whatever. Yeah.
It's interesting that she doesn't. I don't know. It's been a while at least, and since she's thrown those letters away, it's just kind of a big bucket of them, and they just kind of stay in a big bucket.
Yeah. Just a giant growing bucket. Yeah, I mean they're really small, so I guess they can hold a lot, and maybe she'll like empty it eventually, but it seems like she doesn't have to do that for, maybe a couple times in her lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So Kevin shows up. Are you ready for that?
Apparently.
So this is what we were talking about earlier. When Matt told him she was gone, he couldn't believe it. Even after she didn't show up at Matt's funeral, he still couldn't believe it. So every year since, he used the 2 weeks of vacation to return to the place where he lost her in hopes of finding her again, and showing her picture to random people, just hoping someone will recognize her. And finally, when he showed her picture to the nun, he saw in her eyes that she knew Nora. And so finally, he found her, but he didn't know what to say. So he decided to erase their past so they could have another chance.
Man, Kevin, why? That's the most old Kevin thing you could have done is pretend it didn't happen. Like, that's his whole problem, is running away from things.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's so crazy to me.
He's facing it now.
Yeah, when he has no choice.
Well, yeah, I agree. It's weird. It's almost like it could have been like a 20-minute episode if he was just straight with her from the beginning.
Right?
We could have just had like an epilogue episode.
Could have been a 19-minute episode if those birds came back on time.
So true. So true. So true.
Could have been an 18-minute episode if that dude wasn't bonking the nun. So
bonking the nun. Yikes. Yikes.
Bonk. So I want to go back a tad bit here in this soliloquy he's got. Kevin talks about the night, he was in the fucking hotel, and burned his fucking book. So even though we saw the book again after the burning of the book, it was effectively dead.
It was a red herring.
As was the book that Kevin Sr. threw away in the trash. That never got found.
No, this
So
nun didn't find it. There was no
no,
connection there at
no,
all.
no one's finding the Book of Kevin and
No
believing in
one's
it.
worried about Kevin. There's
In
no cult
fact,
of Kevin.
all the people who believed in the book very quickly stopped believing in it.
Very quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Note to any future prophets: get some disciples who have conviction. I'm just want to
Yeah.
say, like, if you're the next Messiah, you don't want some flippity floppity disciples following you.
Exactly. Who will just like abandon you the first time they meet someone who thinks they're God.
Uh huh. Just keep it in mind because it's a plausibility.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like all those possibilities, like the book really went nowhere. I mean,
No.
the book was a mere contrivance in a way to
Mm-hmm.
get some of the characters, besides Kevin and Nora over to Australia. And I guess it served a small purpose in Grace's story as well, but even that was unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Like her basic goal, like they didn't need to have her murder anybody.
No.
I mean, I guess it pushes the stakes and it shows how committed she is, and it kind of makes the story more serious, but really she could have just found Kevin Sr. and he could have just told her about Kevin Jr.
Look, it's ridiculous that she thinks that because she found a piece of paper, that meant a guy could go to the afterlife and talk to her
Right,
kids. I
right,
mean, could you imagine the thousands upon thousands and thousands upon thousands of different pieces, different pages from different books that if you found them would lead you to believe insane things, and just because it's handwritten or something, I don't know why. You know what I mean? Like that. Obviously, it's about her desperation, but like that's insane that she just finds a piece of paper and just believes what it says wholeheartedly enough to kill a
right.
person. She has
Yeah,
no. It's different than like Michael and Kevin Senior and other people and Matt, who sort of saw some of Kevin's specialness and
right,
had some sort of reason to believe it. But like she had no reason to believe anything that piece of paper said, yet she killed a
right.
guy over it. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's insane. All to ask her kids where their shoes were, and Liam said, "Why does it matter, Mom?"
Move on, Mum. Move on.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy, Grace. That's crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. So crazy, it's hard to believe that actually happened.
That was a whole big part of the story.
Yeah. Apparently.
Building the boat didn't matter.
Nah.
I mean, we'll at the end of
The
this
boat.
recap,
The
we'll
boat was
we'll
nothing.
we'll go through the list of things that didn't matter at the end of
It's gonna
this.
be a long list. Oh shit.
we'll just
Oh
ref-
shit.
we'll just refer you to the show.
Strap in. Yeah, fucking A. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean that's why I do kind of wish that um I do kind of wish that this was just like a 20-minute epilogue or something.
Yeah.
Because it just sort of seems like that's the that's the amount of story that they have.
Yeah, I wish Kevin would have shown up and they just hashed it out from the beginning. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't need him to pretend like it didn't happen. That just makes me
No.
think his character didn't change in 20 years.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. That's
That's
a
a
big
huge
problem because
problem.
I don't think we're supposed to think that.
Mm-hmm.
And it does just seem like, at least in part, a contrivance
Yep.
to make the episode, take longer.
And they give us a little bit of a mystery about where Nora might be or what's the
Right, a kind
relationship
of a fake
here.
mystery,
Yep. Yep.
at which, I get that they want to do that, and I mean, I can see shades of Lost here, and that, like, it's they're going for a character based ending, but they're still writing the show in a way like it's a mystery show.
Mm-hmm.
you
And
know,
they're and they're all out of mysteries.
but they're all out of mysteries. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so that's it comes off strange. Of course they do end it on a weird on a on a true mystery, but there's a lot of fake
Wait,
mystery
what's the
going
true
on here.
mystery they end on?
What happened to Nora,
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
basically. I mean, I say true mystery because there's no, I mean, unlike with the, the Kevin thing, there's no confirmation one way or the other about what she
Mm-hmm.
says, you know.
Yeah. Yep, yep, yep.
Um, uh, all right. So you ready for the tea?
I'm ready for the tea.
Nora says she was going to make tea, and that's when you know the episode is kicking into high gear.
Right? When you slow boil some water and let some tea leaves steep, yeah,
Oh
watch
man,
out. Yeah, it's
buckle
all,
the fuck up.
yeah, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michael Bay joint.
Yeah, exactly. Get to the chopper,
Mm-hmm.
take cover.
Mm-hmm.
Shit is getting real.
Brings a new meaning to tea, Earl Grey, hot.
Ooh.
Yeah, okay, she's making tea.
So, yeah, so she makes tea and she comes over. The first thing she does, this is a writer thing, she wants to clarify which parts of what you said were true.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, again, once Kevin is revealed to have been lying, now it calls into
Yeah.
question everything he said.
Well, the question is still, is he telling the truth about any of this?
Well, you could ask that, but at the very least, he's going to say that he was telling the truth about the heart attack, Matt's funeral, his family. He's not in Mapleton. He's in Jarden in their house still. Lori and John are next door.
I think it's Nora's house. She thinks she bought that house.
She did. Yeah, it was her money that bought the house. That's true.
The house that Nora built.
The house that, yeah. With that, she got that money because of how valuable her property was, right? Because of the science.
She was a lens.
The science project. Yeah. Exactly. And
it's weird they never connected those scientists to the machine science. I thought that was the thing they were gonna do, and like that's why they even knew about Nora to begin with, and put her on the list.
Far behind. Yeah. Yeah, no, they need to meet these people because, like, apparently they really figured it out, or at least they think they did.
Right?
Because the other people didn't claim they really knew. They were just kind of trying to understand,
And that's why it seems like it should connect. Like way back then, they were doing preliminary research, and then they found out, the key of the radiation, and then could build a machine from it.
Right. So yeah, that's a nice, woulda, coulda, but didn't. So yeah. The science part of the story, would have been nice. Would have been nice to have a little more coherence there.
Yep.
No, though. None for us. Right, so Lori and John are next door. I don't know. He doesn't mention it. Still doing the fake psychic readings, maybe? I don't know. Maybe they stopped doing that. I guess it's up for debate.
Yeah, I feel like they stopped doing that.
Yeah, fair enough. Michael is running the church. Erica visits. Let's see. Nora admits. Okay, so now Nora admits that she talked to Lori occasionally. But he says, "Don't be mad at her. She's my therapist."
Well, and it goes back to that thing you were talking about at the when she agrees to be her therapist and gives her the lighter or whatever. What was it? Not the lighter, but cigarettes or something like that.
Yeah, cigarettes.
But yeah, that actually mattered.
I know. I was like, this is such a whatever. Like, they're never gonna speak again. And I'm like, oh, of course I was wrong about that. Of course, they're not only they speak again, they're like the only ones who are speaking this whole time. Like, she's the only one who speaks to Nora again.
Yeah.
For the next 20 fucking years. Like, of course. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Um, she's my therapist. Yeah, great. Great. That's a good reason, Nora. Why didn't Nora tell Kevin herself where she was? Because the last time, here it comes. Are you ready? Here's the reason. Because the last time they had seen each other, Kevin was right. She needed to be with her kids, and she was never going to heal, so she needed a way to get them back. So she found it. She went to the machine, the radiation machine. She went to the other side, and it was exactly like this world, except not at all. Um, First, she was in the same parking lot, and everything seemed deserted. And eventually, she finds out that basically, as we discussed earlier, it's a Earth 2, it's a flipped, it's sort of leftovers in reverse. Like, imagine the leftovers, but like the serious Walking Dead version of the leftovers, where 98% of the world's population disappeared. And so she, nonetheless, undaunted was Nora. She made her way back to Mapleton and found her kids and her husband. And he had a new wife, and they seemed to be happy. And I guess in this world, they had it pretty well. Like, I guess that's part of the thing here, that in the mirror image world, those who departed together, I imagine the cast of Perfect Strangers, like,
Yeah.
clinging to each other or something. In this world where if you depart together, you sort of have each other. Of course, to them, I guess they're seeing it as not very many. Only one person from our family departed, which is unlikely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it has to do with like if you were together or not. It's just that the ones who departed are here, right? Like, are you saying like it has to do with proximity?
Oh, no. I just meant like the people like also departed / didn't depart, depending on your perspective. You know what I mean? Your immediate family. I mean, regardless of where they are, in location, at the time.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Do you get what I mean?
No.
All I'm saying is that. Okay.
What is all you're saying?
It's not that complicated, and yet I'm having a hard time explaining it. Like, basically, Nora's whole family, from Nora's perspective, her whole family disappeared, right? Her whole family departed. From her family's point of view, only she departed.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. In like, basically, if in the 98% world, if like a whole bunch of people from a family or from a group departed, then that means they're all together in the 2% world. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like, it's sort of like everything that we thought about, so Nora like had it the worst in the 98% world because her whole family departed, and that was like super unlikely. So she was super unlucky. And the 98% world is like the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Like,
most people lost a lot of people.
Almost everyone lost their whole family, and it's rare the family that even stayed somewhat, together. You know, when you're talking about 90, so it's just like she wouldn't be special in that world.
That's why she didn't stay.
Everybody's Nora in that world, basically. It's like it's a world of Noras,
which nobody wants.
Ouch! Ouch!
You disagree?
Well, no, but still, ouch. No, I mean, hey, Nora, she's great, but yeah, World of Nora's, I mean, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. Let's dial that back a little.
Can we go back to where she's telling this story, and then they do what I think this is for the audience, where Kevin interjects and he goes, and then you changed your mind.
Oh, right.
He's trying to figure out why she's still here if she
Right.
went through
I
the
left that part
machine.
out because it wasn't true, apparently, according to her story. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, but the
Setting
idea
me up
that,
to think that that was true. I mean, I was so sure.
yeah, but then she immediately says no.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
change my mind, which makes me think she changed her mind.
Hmm.
But it was interesting they brought that up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought that her description of this other place was fairly interesting, and kind of the things that they have to deal with. It'd be interesting. It'd be cool. I mean, they wouldn't be able to do this because it would prove that she went to the other place. But it'd be interesting if like there was like a spin-off,
Right.
where it's just
Reverse
Nora in the other
leftovers.
place, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah, and just like traveling to Mapleton was a huge ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
Just because travel is difficult. Like there's not enough like pilots to maintain um
Yeah.
airplanes and stuff like that. It's like when you lose 98% of the population, like it's a lot of basic functions that people are serving are not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so like functionally like the world, I would imagine, like becomes somewhat like primitive.
Mm-hmm. A little bit. The lights still turned on at night.
I
The
mean, they
street
still
lights
have.
still came on, but yeah, it's there's so much more. You can't have the same infrastructure. I mean, you don't need the same
Yeah,
infrastructure because there's
you
98%
don't
less
have as many
people,
people. Yeah,
but you still don't have those people doing all the different jobs. I mean, 2% of the world's population left on Earth is, yeah, that's apocalyptic. I mean, that's
yeah, that would
the
count
It'd be
for
interesting
me.
what the density is in different places.
Yeah,
But yeah, you could have been in a place where no one around you for hundreds of miles is there anymore, and you
right,
perhaps think you're the only person left on Earth. You
right.
know,
It makes me wish we could have seen this.
it would have
It's
been
such
a
an
lot more
interesting idea.
interesting. Yeah, it would have been a lot more interesting.
And I feel like if we saw it, I mean, it would lend some credibility to her story. But it,
mm-hmm.
it could still be ambiguous. I mean, we could
Well,
still
it,
say
Yep.
this is what, a visualization of her story.
yeah, it'd make it a little bit more objective, but I think the fact that she could even still be dead in this whole thing, so
Oh,
you
yeah,
could
that
you could be
too.
like, Nora died, but she thinks she went to this place.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But it's just like, it's a crazy thing to only exist in dialogue,
Yeah.
because it's huge. It's huge. I mean, she basically just explained the sudden departure.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are, the final scene. We get an explanation for the sudden departure, and it's like, but as I said before, that's just a commitment that this show has not to give an answer about that's definitive or
Mm-hmm.
100% believable. Um, so, continuing from there, I guess, she had no place there because her family, they'd all moved on, basically. And
Yeah,
I
I
guess
don't
it would have
buy
been
it.
too weird to
I don't
just
buy it.
walk in there and hey,
Hey,
you get
hey,
out.
everyone else that left, let me give you an answer to where they went. We're back on the other Earth, and they're all
Nah,
fine.
if Dr. Von Egan didn't do it.
Yikes.
um yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the part of the story that bothers me the most.
Yeah,
Really.
there's no one last goodbye. I'm surprised she didn't even lie about that. Like, why not? If
Yeah,
this is a lie, why not include that in the lie? Like, she
yeah,
got to say goodbye to them, but she realized that, she couldn't stay or something, or, like, since I don't even know why. Yeah, why not? If this is all a story to make herself feel better, why? And I feel like that's very Nora. To not even in her own fantasy really get what she wants,
give
or
herself the things
or
she really
or
wants.
or to like delude herself into thinking she got what she wanted in her own fantasy, but didn't
Right,
really, because she didn't really get to reunite with them.
right.
Oh, Nora.
Yeah, so I guess she just moved on from there and decided to track down Dr. Von Egan, since he had supposedly invented the machine and used it. I guess he was the first one to use it. Um, and so she went to him and said, "Hey, machine guy, can you make me another machine to go back to the other world? Because if you just do the same thing again, I assume that'll
Yeah.
work
And, and,
again."
and why? Again, I wish this story was. I was looking for Dr. Van Egan, and that took a long time too. But I found him, and he was in the middle of making another machine. Like this world would want a machine too, like we were talking about
You
before.
would think
And the
so. You
same
would think they would want
impetus,
it even more.
and the same impetus that he had to build it to go to the departed place, I feel
Even
like he would
more.
have the same impetus to build it so people could go back.
Only more so.
Only more so.
I feel the need to rub that in because I feel like the urgency
Yeah.
for that world is way bigger because, like, basically he has a way that to like remake the world, to like put it
Yeah.
back together again.
Talk about being the most powerful man on earth or in the
I
world.
know, and yet he chooses not to.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Like, I mean, that makes no sense to me. I mean, why did you want to go over there if not to like find out what happens? And if you find out what happens in a way that allows you to fix it,
Yeah.
like surely you would do
and
that.
I think the only explanation would be that he was going to find his family that departed, but then he found them there and he was happy or something.
Mm-hmm.
But then he didn't
take them back. It's
well,
fine.
why take them back?
Take them back because that world sucks. There's 2% of the whole world there.
But the real estate is golden. I mean,
oh god,
geez, there's so much.
Oh, what if you bought some property over there and then like took maybe you can't take it with you. What if you swallowed? What if you swallowed the title and then went into the machine?
And came back.
And then came back and then threw it up.
Yep.
And then tried to claim it. Would that be like the steal of the century?
No, because they would say this is a counterfeit document or something.
But it won't be. It'll be real.
But it won't be real for that world. I mean, you can make a document look authentic, but it still doesn't prove anything, right?
But it'll be so real though.
I don't think it would hold up in court. They would have.
I'm trying to come up with a scam.
They'd have one deed that says it goes to person A, and one deed that says it goes to person B, and the person B would have to prove their claim. They would, well, when did you buy this, and when did you pay, and show me the bank account that you paid it for. It'd get legal.
Right.
It'd get legal. But you're on the right idea. Let's figure out a great scam.
Yeah, there's gotta be a good scam for this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what the best scam would be.
Like, how does having access to the other place let you get a leg up in the first place? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, one thing you could do, it's not a very good scam, but you could go, if you were in Earth 2, you could talk to people who were there about their loved ones that from their perspective departed. And then you go to Earth 1 and be like, hey, I can contact the other side and I know all this information about you and your family.
I got it.
Yeah.
How about this? This is like wildly impractical. But what if not Kevin, god damn it. What if Laura, god damn it. Okay.
Nora.
One more time. What if Lori and John like continue to do their thing, but they want to serve people who have relatives who departed?
There you
All
go.
they got to do is like write down, okay, just give us like a couple years. And so then
tell us who it is and give us a couple years and we'll come back with some information about them.
They give it to Nora. She goes over there. She gets the information. It's going to be so fucking authentic.
Yeah.
And she comes back, tells them everything they want to know.
And then the person gives them $25. And then John shreds
they put it in the shredder.
Best scam of the century.
What a scam.
We give you everything you wanted and didn't take anything for it. We're great scammers.
That's how scams work, right?
Yeah. That's
We
that's
give
what I
you
learned.
we give you what you want, don't charge you for it. Don't really take your money.
Yeah, or I guess the best thing would be to like bring them back.
Yeah,
You
that would
know,
be the best thing.
then it's like we better get a little more than $25 for that, please. I would like to kindly request let's be generous and say a 10,000% increase in
Okay.
the usual fee. That's
Mm-hmm.
being generous.
All right.
We got to pay for the machine. We got to
Yeah.
pay for the transportation.
Yeah, I wish she would have just said that he was already building the machine, or he had built one because of people. But I guess they don't want to make it seem like people are coming back to this earth from that earth.
Right. They want to close off that possibility. But
Yeah.
why though? I mean,
But
I
why
don't get
though?
it. I don't get it. And see, that's the problem. Again, you know what? You know what? This is starting to bother me. It's like I feel like it's just what they did with Mary, and it's just what they did with that whole like hotel story. Like any chance that they had, like Kevin Senior also. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I was thinking of. Any chance that they had to give corroborating, objective evidence for something, they sneakily run away from it, and not
Like
necessarily.
sneaks.
Exactly. And not necessarily even in a plausible fashion. Like it actually feels like they're artificially avoiding confrontation with direct evidence,
Yep.
and that's how this feels, because it's like it doesn't seem plausible to me that that's how it is, but it's like if it's true, you know what I mean? If they go with the plausible thing, then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, where's all the other people, Nora? You know?
Yeah.
Like where are they at? Surely they're somewhere, and also like, the other direction, it should be more of a thing, like the back and forth between the two worlds,
Yeah.
and by not giving any avenue even for confirmation, they just totally avoid that,
Mm-hmm.
and they make it harder to. And like I was frustrated by that, but now it's starting to bother me as a kind of device, you know. Um, like it'd be one thing if it just came up in the story, but it's just like in that world, I don't get why. I don't get why he wouldn't want to build a machine.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
know,
wish they would have just given us an answer. Like he said he would never build one because of XYZ reason, but I convinced him to do it,
yeah,
she just said she convinced him, but yeah, they
yeah,
didn't make it clear why there wasn't already one, or even like it could be a situation where you it's one directional, like you can't go the other way, and maybe he knew that and didn't build it or something, or
right,
it didn't work before and he just figured out how to make it work.
right,
But it's interesting that the end of the show is basically just Nora giving us the book of Nora, like just this
right,
story.
And we
right.
just believe it or not,
This is the book of Nora.
Mm-hmm. This is her miraculous thing that she did. Yeah.
Right. Right. So I guess continuing from there, she convinces him to build the machine. Then she came back. Uh, did she think about Kevin? Sure, but she couldn't contact him because too much time had passed. It was just too late.
how much time had passed?
I don't think she said. I
I
mean,
know.
I'm assuming by the descriptions of the long travels to get to Mapleton and to find Dr. Von Egan that we're talking years, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly how many.
Yeah.
So I would guess something like 5 years, maybe like 3 to 5 years.
So I don't want to. This is a weird question to ask. It's a very weird visual that's in my head now. But Laurie's fetus.
Oh God.
Exactly.
Oh God, that's horrifying.
Exactly.
It just like
So in
dropped.
Earth 2,
in the same, I guess. I'm assuming
that
Earth 2
room?
had the exact same physical properties,
Yeah,
so all the
I think
buildings and
so.
all the physical matter is the same, and people just transitioned.
Yeah,
So the baby was just on the fetus, just plopped onto the table Lori was
I
sitting
guess so.
on,
Yeah,
and just died there because no one else was around to help.
probably
Or I
so.
guess there was somebody out in the front office that vanished. So
Oh, maybe that
from
person
so
helped
that person, but what could the
if there
person
was
really
any
do?
chance.
What could the
But then,
person
like,
do?
you got a hospital with 98% of the staff gone.
Sure,
Are you going to
exactly.
be able to get, like, the fetus would
Mm-hmm.
probably need to be in, like, some kind of what do they call that thing when
Well,
it's
the
early
incubator. I mean,
incubator? Yeah.
did the placenta come too? Like,
Ooh,
you
don't get into that.
know, leave the placenta out of
Those are
it.
the hard questions. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That is a crazy one.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Just fetus like
Yeah.
like horrifying and crazy.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to think about, which was fine before, they
Yeah,
told, before we get Nora's story, we think, oh, they just went to some place and we don't have to think
right,
about the repercussions of that.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When it's so concrete, it's like then you have to imagine what the scenario was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I guess the woman like Kevin was having sex with like also experienced that
All of a
thing
sudden,
happening.
Kevin was just gone for,
Kevin was gone.
yeah.
And then she realized everyone else was gone.
Mm-hmm.
But
Like the
yeah.
baby, the baby in the woman's car. I guess
Yeah,
in the Earth too, the baby's just in the car seat with
the
no
baby's
mother
there.
around.
Yeah, and somebody comes and gets the baby and helps her, doesn't? But
Yeah, yeah. I guess
that's
the guy, the little boy's dad who vanished in that parking lot, I guess, might hear the baby crying.
oh, that was the thing I thought of. Jarden is empty. Jarden is fucking empty.
Oh, that's a good point. Jordan is a ghost town.
It's a ghost town, and that's the crazy thing about it.
Wow, it's the only place where everyone was taken.
Everyone was taken. Yeah,
Wow,
exactly.
so no one goes there.
No one goes there. Why would you? It's
Because it's
scary. I don't
like
know.
cursed. Yeah, it's like the
Yeah,
cursed place.
yeah. Or
They
maybe
don't
it
call
has
it.
like a haunted house attraction or something.
Yeah, they definitely don't call it miracle.
Hell no.
Mm-mm.
Hell no.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so
interesting. And
it's
that
it's
really is,
interesting.
yeah, it really is tied into the sort of prime theme of the show, the like this duality of ideas. So yeah, you do a duality of perspective, because yeah, on one hand, it's a miracle is a place if no one departs, but also it's a hellhole if everyone
Yeah,
departs, and it's just a matter of perspective.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah, that definitely makes sense for the show to go to
Yeah,
at the end.
yeah. I think Nora's lying though, but that's just me.
Yeah, but still to present the idea, whether it's true or
Sure,
not,
sure, yeah.
it thematically makes sense. But yeah, I mean, you're on firm ground believing it's a lie. Um, but it's a better story.
It's a better story. And that's all we really want out of lives is good stories.
Hey, when I watch TV, that's a big part of what I want,
Yep.
Good story. That's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
Oh, right. Sorry. So we're kind of at the end of the show here. I
Yeah, this
buried
is
the
this is
lead.
basically in here,
I buried the lead. So apparently, most importantly, she didn't think that Kevin would believe what had happened,
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
maybe for good reason. But Kevin says, I believe you because he believes her, I guess. And he went through a lot of crazy shit, and maybe he thinks, sure, why not? Or maybe he's just humoring her. Who knows? But anyway, he says, I believe you. And she takes his hand and they smile. And then we go outside, and guess what? The birds are back.
The birds came back, the lovebirds, because
The
Kevin and Nora
lovebirds.
are lovebirds.
Kevin and Nora are lovebirds after 20 years of lying to each other
Yeah, and lying to themselves.
and lying to the yeah. Well, yeah, after 4 years of lying to each other and 20 years of lying to themselves and others and now lying to each other again. Isn't it romantic?
Isn't it romantic?
So yeah, that's we're back. And the end.
Mm-hmm.
The end of show. Thank you. Good night.
Oh, the birds came back.
The birds came back.
Like all she had to do was wait, and it's like
Yeah,
Kevin came back, and all she had to do was wait.
there it is. Kevin's like the birds.
Kevin's the birds. He went off and he's flying the coop. Yeah, I'll buy it. I
You
think the
know,
goat walks away too. I think the goat leaves in that last scene too.
oh yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
goat's
yeah. The
like,
goat
I'm out
does
of
leave.
here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've had enough of this. This
I'm
isn't
yeah. I'm goating home.
goading home exactly. You know what? You know what hits me right now?
What hits you right
Just
now?
thinking about Kevin. Like I feel like Kevin owes Nora like a little bit of I mean, okay, maybe we're supposed to assume he's gonna tell her about this eventually, but you know, I, I I think it's a little weird that you know, if this is the fundamental like love story of the whole show, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And like we're supposed to believe that they're destined to be together or something, even though you know
I'm
whatever.
not sure if
This
we're supposed to believe that.
okay, well, you know.
I think that's generally the point these kind of things make, but I'm not sure if that's the point they're making. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, at the very least, like their love story is like the focal point of the show,
Yep.
and perhaps it's flawed in various ways, and maybe this is one of the ways. But I just want to point out that you know Kevin had all these experiences, like
Yep.
really intense, crazy experiences, like going to the hotel 2 times
Mm-hmm.
in Jardin and also you know what just happened to him 20 years ago in
Mm-hmm.
Australia, you know, going to the crazy world and blowing it up because he realized he fucked it up with Nora. I feel like you know after all this and after her crazy story and so on, and if not before that, you know, he owes her to tell her about that stuff. You know, I mean, I feel like because she doesn't even know. I mean, she was reading that stuff from the book, like,
Mm-hmm.
where does Matt come up with this crap? You know, and it's like Kevin really experienced that. You know, and I think
Yeah, but
she never knew that Kevin actually went
that
through
was a
this.
real thing he
And I
thought he
would think
went
that's a
through, and
significant enough part of his life to share with,
but
you
I think
know,
that's the part
someone
of
who's
his
supposed
life.
to be.
That's the part of his life that makes him seem crazy, and he realized he had to hide that from her.
But shouldn't their reconciling like be part like moving past that, like if he's willing to believe her crazy story, maybe now she can believe his crazy story, and you know what I mean, they can
But
kind of
I don't think Kevin would ever tell her because it's not they don't need that for them to progress. I don't know. I guess it depends on if they're really healed from their flaws or not. But I feel like he wouldn't tell her because that he it might risk her running away from him if he told her all that stuff. You know, if he just got her back now.
but that's just back to square one. I mean, that was the thing that led to the fight in the first place, that was the final fight they had, you know,
Yeah.
before they meet again here. Like it really they haven't they're not ready to move beyond that. I mean,
Mm-mm. I mean, Kevin shows up lying about all that, so
well,
clearly
I
not ready.
yeah, but I feel like it's supposed to be that they're coming clean at the end, and I
Mm-mm.
just
I
feel
don't
like for
think they're
them,
coming clean. I think they're agreeing to. I feel like they're agreeing to what's important right now, which is that they're both here and now, and that's all that matters, and that the past doesn't matter as much. Um, I don't think. I mean, I don't think they're coming clean because I think Nora's lying about all this. So you know, she's telling a story that she wants Kevin to hear. But I mean, I
and
definitely
Kevin's
agree
still
with your
hiding
point.
like a big part of his life. Why was he putting a bag over his head? What did he
Mm-hmm.
do after he left the hotel room?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It
like
was
she,
all for nothing. I mean, like he went there and got very little out of it in terms of bringing things back for other people, you know, and like all the people who believed in him left, like
well,
they
yeah, but he got a
stopped.
big thing out of it in terms of himself. You know, it totally changed his perspective. You know what I mean? It's seemingly like the reason why he was looking for her that whole time, because he had that turning point of like how he had fucked up. You know, and that basically he was retreating into this world, and he needs to destroy it so that he wouldn't go back
I
there.
thought the fucked up was just kind of an addendum, like, oh, by the way, we fucked up. I mean, he knew that. Like, I mean, I see what you're saying. I mean, the point was for him to not have a place he could run away to. You know, and to presumably so he would confront Nora or confront his real life. And so, like, okay, I'll destroy this place so I don't have a place to go run away to. You know, a metaphysical place to run away to. And yeah, it seems like once he comes back, you know, he wants to, you know, find Nora again. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely agree with you that he should come clean about all that stuff. But I don't think they're fixed. I don't think their issues are resolved at
God
all.
damn it! After 20 years, they
No,
can't.
I think that they weren't working on their problems in 20 years. They weren't working on their problems. So why
But
would
they're
it be
not. But they're
fixed?
not ready. They haven't prepared. He hasn't thought about what he would say. You
Clearly, he didn't
know.
think it. Yeah, this whole time he's looking for Nora, he didn't think about what he would say to her once he found her, which suggests maybe he didn't really believe he'd find her, even
Right.
though he was gonna probably look forever. You know, I think going back to what I was saying before is I think even though this is a Kevin and Laura, yikes.
Uh oh. Uh
Thank
oh. I
you very much.
infected you.
Thank you very much for that.
Sorry.
Kevin and Nora love story. That was the thing that Nora love made it Laura. Um,
Oh right.
and I think it's again going back to Fight Club about like two dysfunctional people who maybe shouldn't be in a relationship with each other, but deciding to try it, and maybe they just it's like we'll go around two, and maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, you know. But the point is like we're deciding to try. You know, like you're here, I'm here. Like that's what matters. Those are the last lines of the show. You know, so I think it's not supposed to be the way I take it is it's not like here's a star-crossed lovers and they're fated to be together and they have this larger than life love, and I don't think that's what it was. I think they were broken people who found each other because they were broken and needed support, and they couldn't figure out how to support each other because they couldn't support themselves, and then 20 years goes by and they're back to where they started basically. You know, maybe this thing really happened to Nora and she reconciled the thing with her kids, but she still wasn't ready to rejoin Kevin. She wasn't like, Kevin's the love of my life. And when I get back to Earth 1, I'm going to find him and marry him. Like that, that's what you do if you're star-crossed lovers. You know what I mean? That's what you do if you're fated to be together or if your love is strong enough to, transcend worlds or something, Like that's just not what they depicted. And Kevin definitely is more on the romantic spectrum, trying to find her all these years and using the 2 weeks of vacation he has to go look for her. So I mean, he's playing that role a bit, but when he shows up, he's sort of unprepared for it. He's unprepared to tell her the truth at the beginning. He starts off with a lie. I mean, how do you come back, a second chance at the love of your life and you start off your relationship with a lie? I don't think that's saying you're ready to be, that you're the person, you're self-actualized. I can't imagine that's what that's supposed to mean. I think it means the opposite, and I think it's more realistic and is maybe saying a more modern love story, which is that relationships are messy and you can try to fix yourself and fix other people, and it may or may not work, and you either are together or you're not. Like that's how it's coming off to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. In Fight Club, she knew about, Edward Norton and his problems. It's not like she didn't realize what was going on. I mean,
She didn't
I
know
guess for
he
I guess for a
was.
while she didn't know, but certainly by the
Yeah.
end she understands.
Well, at the
You
very
know.
yeah. At the very, but that's the thing. At the end, they go off together, like having become self-actualized. Like he reunites with himself. He kills Tyler Durden, and he's himself. And like they can go off together in the future, having gone past that worst part of his life. In their life together, and like yeah, it's the opposite of this. Where like yeah, in a way they did come clean about the main issue that was keeping them apart.
the Fight Club thing, yeah, like the confrontation happened. Like Kevin had his Fight Club moment in that sense, but Nora just never knew anything about it, you
Yeah.
know. And
That's the
you,
thing.
it's just if the whole thing was like, I didn't want to tell you because because you handcuffed me to the bed and basically like you thought I was crazy, you wouldn't believe
Mm-hmm.
me. It just seems like this is setting the stage, but I mean, I guess maybe the scene is just going to go on too long. I mean, maybe we're supposed to imagine he will tell her. I just
I don't think he will,
I
because
guess it's frustrating to me that she never finds out, within
yeah,
the show
it would
itself,
have been
because
a
it's such a
great.
significant part of his life, seemingly.
It would have been great if Kevin said, "Hey, all that Book of Kevin stuff was real, and not only that, I went back to the hotel place
Yeah.
and I destroyed a world for you."
Yeah.
Like, there's very little that's more romantic than that, and
Yeah.
that would have been great.
Totally.
That would have been great for her to know that, like, he chose to end that his specialness. He chose to cut himself off from that in order to be with her. That would have been a great thing to tell her. That he
Yeah.
didn't tell her that, which I just feel like that means something. Like, I don't know. I think he's past it. I think he it just doesn't put any stock into it anymore. That's the sense I get. I think he and all those other people just moved past it. It was just a weird thing that happened that summer. It was a wild and it was a wild and crazy
Oh
summer.
man. Oh, that summer. Woo.
Remember that summer where we thought Kevin was a god? Oh, what were we thinking?
Man, oh man.
Yeah, that's
What
how
are we
it
gonna
comes
do
off
this
to me.
summer? Hang gliding?
Yeah, and that it's really not about the past. I mean, I think that's in a way why Kevin tries to lie and ignore the past, because it's not about the past. Like, their whole thing has to be about, and if anything, that is them getting over their character flaws, is accepting the past, but willing to be in the present with their partner. Like, I'm here, you're here,
Right.
versus him wanting to run away from his life, which I still don't know why that's a character flaw for him. I don't know what made him do that. Or her, worried about her kids and losing her family and that stuff.
Right.
But I also think Nora's dead, and this is all fake. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I think that's a plausible reading. I mean, if that's true, I mean, is the Kevin a fantasy Kevin, or is the Kevin a sort of flash
I think
sideways
this is
Kevin?
yeah. I think this is the Flash Sideways Kevin,
Okay.
or
Well, then I
like,
really want
oh,
him to
I'm
mention.
no, I meant, oh, you meant, oh, okay. I guess I meant fantasy Kevin, like,
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because the Flash Sideways people were real. I
yeah,
mean, in some sense.
yeah.
Um.
I think this is if it was like Kevin's hotel world, you know, there were people there who were really dead, who should have really
Right.
been there, but yet they were still playing a role.
Right.
So Kevin could be like that. Maybe he'll wake up and they'll move on to the afterlife together.
Yeah.
I do, and this whole scapegoat thing, and Jesus being a big scapegoat for people's sins, and then Nora taking the beads and kind of symbolically becoming a scapegoat. I'm like, do we connect that back to Jesus and dying for sins? Hello, dying. Nora's
Right.
dead.
Right.
Maybe,
Right.
maybe.
Interesting. Like Nora is Jesus after all, not Kevin.
Yes, exactly.
That's a surprise reveal.
Uh-huh. Jesus was a woman.
Jesus was a woman. Hey, didn't see that coming.
Mm-mm. Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
Well, that's the end of the
Yeah,
episode,
yeah.
and
There's any
therefore the
more?
series.
What's the next scene?
That's it.
Nothing?
That's it. We're
Okay.
done.
And
We
then the
got to the
birds came
end.
back.
And then the birds came back at the end.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, what do you say to that?
I don't know what I say to that. Going back to what I said earlier, the show was a very fun ride. I really enjoyed it. I didn't like season 1 at first, the first time I saw it. Then I started watching season 2 and I fell in love with it. It made me go back and watch season 1, and I liked it so much more since I knew the context of what was, the story that they were telling. Season 3 I liked a bit less than season 2, but it was still interesting to get, this last part of the story. Um, but yeah, I feel like now that it's all over, it's almost like a magic show or something, where it's like, yeah, I was entertained, but it was all fake. Like the thing that I was entertained by didn't actually have substance. It was the illusion of substance that was entertaining me.
Right.
Which maybe doesn't make a difference, but I feel like it. I what am I left with?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I would like something more to grasp onto. And I guess like rewatching season 1, I definitely enjoyed it like way more than I did the first time. The first time
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty skeptical about it. Rewatching season 2, I would say I enjoyed it pretty much as I did the first time. Like season 2, I think, is the height of the show,
Yeah.
doing I guess what I wanted it to do, um, which was still in the mode of ambiguity, but there was a bigger commitment, I think, to making it seem like the crazy stuff mattered.
Mm-hmm.
It really felt like it did at that time. And I guess that is maybe a big part of why I was disappointed in the episode before this one, that like it really left me with the feeling that none of that mattered,
Mm-hmm.
except on a character level, which is fine. I mean, it's not like I have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with that when that's all that it matters for,
Yeah.
personally. Like, if you're going to do, uh, if you're going to do, a character drama, like, say it's just, you know, 6 Feet Under or something,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a family drama, you know. I guess I prefer that character development to just happen. I mean, you can have like, I mean, 6 Feet Under had like the dead people would talk to the characters sometimes and stuff like that, and they had like some brief fantasy sequences. But if it was like a whole episode spent in a fantasy world to like, do some character development with one of the characters, I mean, that would seem like a waste of time to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't particularly like that as a vehicle for character development. I would rather just watch that happen in the real world. I'd kind of
Mm-hmm.
rather just watch, sort of the season 1. Season 1 is more down to earth.
Yeah.
I kind of rather just watch the show continue in that mode if it has no intention of following through. And I guess like, they built up the intrigue of the hotel so well in season 2. And, combining that with the story of the girls leaving their family, which I think was, a real world story that had impact.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
Kelvin, they departed.
I think that was a great combination. You know, yeah, that whole tease and reveal, like, even though it's disappointing in a way, it also worked.
Yeah.
And I do feel like season 3 does not have, it's not constructed as well. It's a bit more like episodic, I guess, and kind
Mm-hmm.
of random.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as much like there's a clear plan.
Yeah.
Even though there obviously was a plan, but it's not coherent.
It's not like marching towards a big event
Yeah.
like, because the whole season 2 is going towards that big confrontation with Jarden
Exactly.
and the guilty remnant. And yeah, I agree. I'm not really that happy with where we leave most of the characters on the show. I don't think Matt's ending is very interesting. He loses his faith almost at the height of his faith in Kevin,
Right.
because David Burton is an asshole. I felt like if David Burton was a nice guy, maybe he would have kept his faith, which is a
Yeah.
weird thing to think about.
Yeah.
And so he just sort of on a boat decides, oh, none of this is, and that's what I was gonna say earlier about Matt, is his faith wasn't in like Christianity, in terms of like as it relates to the departure, right? He didn't think that was the rapture. which made him interesting from the beginning because he's a minister or whatever who should have thought that, but he does it. He's like, no, something else happened because it can't be the Rapture because the Rapture should have been good people. Yeah. And these people were bad. So he's already like a super interesting character because he has faith, but he's, compartmentalizing it in a certain way where the departure doesn't fit into that. It's this other thing. But then that transitions into him having this faith in Kevin, and I guess he just throws that away too, without even really confirming it, without really even talking to Kevin again. Like it'd be different if like they had given us one more scene of Matt, going to the farmhouse with Grace and everybody else, and him seeing Kevin go do the thing he he would have been interested to see him do. But yeah, so Matt has this whole loss of faith or re-examining or whatever on the boat, and then goes to tell Nora goodbye at the machine, and then that's it for Matt. That's all we get for this guy, and he just dies off screen. And I'm surprised he even did the chemo for his cancer. I'm surprised like he didn't have some other idea of, well, God will heal me, or I don't want to go through that, or whatever. I'm surprised that it was just pretty cut and dry. And I guess we don't know if it worked, but he just eventually died. I'm not sure like if it gave him more time or something or not. But yeah, I'm not very happy with where they leave Matt. John and Michael. I mean,
oh man, oh yeah. In the interview, he did say like if like basically HBO determined that they would only have 8 episodes. That was just told to them.
I see.
That wasn't something that they requested, and so he said, yeah, if we had 10, he would have done an episode focusing on John. Mm-hmm. And Michael, and they would have had more, like, because they ended up getting pretty ignored in the storyline.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, just really relegated to like nothing.
Yeah.
We didn't even see John with Lori.
Oh, like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we see some guy in the background, or somebody's in the background when she's talking, but like, they don't make it clear that that's John.
No, not at all.
And maybe they just didn't have the actor at that point or something, or they didn't need him for that one shot, or I don't know what we're supposed to think, but it's weird that they show Lori, but then they're together, but they didn't show John.
Right. Yeah. I just want to mention one thing that I was actually pretty happy about.
Uh-huh.